All right. Welcome, everybody, to the first ever Job Board Con. So, coming to you live from the East Coast of the United States. We have a worldwide audience today. So, thank you to all in attendance. Appreciate you guys signing up and appreciate you for the interest. A lot of my clients are here as well, as well as some new folks so we look forward to educating you all today. Hey, Ryan, good to hear from you as well. Thanks for the chat there. Feel free to give me a shout out in the chat. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Russell. I run a company called RegTech Media here in Connecticut, in the U.S. And I've been building, running, and consulting with job boards since 1999. So, 22 years now, I think. I'm kind of the father of niche job boards. I've probably built and launched over 50 of them in my career, most of which I've sold off or closed. I still own a couple today. HR Lancers, running on the Smart Job Board platform. I've got recruitinghrjobs.com, running on Jobboard.io, for example. And for the past 10 years or so, I've been writing and consulting, as I mentioned, via the jobboardsecrets.com membership site and blog. And for whatever reason, I've never been busier as a consultant than I am today. My inbox in the past year has blown up. I've received just a constant stream of emails in the past year from people looking to start a job board business or fix their existing job board business, and I help them with all the above. So the idea for this event is pretty simple. Just bring together a bunch of job board owners and employees and talk about starting, managing, marketing a job board today in today's environment. And so I plan on doing this every year now, given the fact that there's definitely interest here. We have 90 signups today. Looks like we're getting a few more in as well. And it's going to be a great show, I think. So let's run down the agenda quickly for you. So next up will be my top software picks. I'm going to run through my top 10 job board software platforms and kind of tell you what I like about each of them. 1:30, we'll bring in Peter Zollman from the AIM Group. They cover the space, the recruiting classified space, a lot of kind of top level, high level numbers and things like that he's going to share with us around what's new in 2021 with job boards around the world. 2 o'clock, I'll bring on my first panel, and that's going to be building community into your job board. We'll bring on Mac Pritchard from maxlist.org and Keith Klein from venturefiz.com. Then 2:30, I'll be talking about content creation hacks. I have an ebook on the same topic, so I'll be kind of running down that ebook essentially in that session. 3 o'clock, employer prospecting tips and tricks. Show you some of those. And then kind of our keynote, 3:30 p.m., sales strategies with Ethan Bloomfield. So Ethan and I go way back. He is a former ZipRecruiter sales exec. Used to work at Job Target as well. That's where I met him back in 2006, something like that. And today he works for Truckers Report, a job board for the trucking industry. And so he's got a lot of great ideas around sales strategies, probably one of the best kind of growth hackers that you can find out there in terms of sales. And I'll interview him on the last session as well. And then at 5 o'clock, don't forget, Zoom happy hour, free for all. You can all see each other and talk to each other. The link is there in the chat. It's also on I sent out the email as well this morning. Separate sign up, so just make sure you do that because it's on Zoom, not on Crowdcast. And we'll also talk with Todd Goldstein from Top Resume. He's our sponsor today. Shout out to Top Resume, topresume.com. If you're not using them for generating, resume business from your job seekers, what are you waiting for? Great product, great affiliate system. You can log in, get your link, get your banner ads, and install that onto your job boards, whether it's just through links or ads, or if you use something like a Jobboard.io or Smart Job Board, you can actually integrate it directly into that platform itself. So shout out to Top Resume, our sponsor for today, our exclusive sponsor. And we'll talk to Todd at the top of the happy hour. And I'll just quiz my bit on the product, and he'll also talk about just a few other things. So look forward to that as well. All right. Can't make it live. Replay will be available after the show. Just go to the same link, and the video will be processed probably within about 15 minutes or so. And you can come back anytime on demand and watch the entire show. As we go along, put your questions in the Q&A section down below. Ask a question, it says. While I'm sharing my screen, I can't see chat, so just keep that in mind. If I don't answer your questions in the main show, just ask me during the happy hour. I'll try and answer every question I can, and we'll get rolling here. So, shout outs to everyone on the chat there. Looks like about half of you are now joined, and I expect a pretty full show as far as attendees. So let's get started, shall we? Let me share my screen, and we'll get rolling. All right. Can you guys see my screen yet? Yep, there it goes. Okay, cool. All righty. So let's talk about job board software. These are my top 10 picks. Most of these are established players, and that's kind of where I tend to lean when it comes to launching your job board today. I'm going to run through these quickly, and then we'll actually go to each website and just show you a few things about who they are, what they do. All right. So without a doubt, my number one choice in the market is Smart Job Board today. Why is that, you ask? Well, to me, for the money you pay, which is $2.99 a month for their kind of pro version, you get a business in a box. And it does everything you need to do to make money today with a job board business. And that means multiple revenue streams. That means job postings. That means affiliate revenue. That means backfill. That means charging job seekers if you want to. That means recurring revenue if you want to. Smart Job Board has the most flexible tool on the market for the money. Okay, so for $2.99, you get a business in a box. I also think it's the most easiest to use platform when it comes to setting it up, managing it going forward. I think their admin is the cleanest admin in the business, and it's very intuitive, and it works really well. I've been around for over 10 years. Rodion, the CEO, does a great job of iterating and such. So they are my number one favorite in the market itself. A close second is JobBoard.io, another business in a box, does everything that Smart Job Board does, just a little bit less. The difference between the two is fairly close, but from a customization standpoint, things like recurring billing, Smart Job Board definitely wins above them overall. YM Careers, a great tool if you don't want to, if you want a lot of hand holding with your product, if you don't have a lot of marketing experience, look at YM Careers. They've got a lot of built-in marketing support around their product. They are mainly known for association job boards, but they do have a growing number of independent job boards as well overall. Hiring Ops, another one of my sponsors on the Job Board Secrets site out of Wisconsin, I believe. Another great tool. They just came out a couple of years ago, so it's pretty modern software. And another great solid offering in the market. Job Mount, another one of my advertisers. Job Board Mount run by Aspen Technology. Again, a great solid platform if you're looking to launch a job board today. You know, most of these platforms do everything you needed to do when it comes to running an offer. They're just kind of, there's some small differences here and there between the feature sets that they all provide overall. So that's Job Mount there. And you can quibble with these kind of order here, but other than Smart Job Board number one, you know, you can make a case for some of these in terms of different positions overall, but it just kind of depends on your need, what you can afford as well. Market Grabber, based out of Colorado, been in the business for 10 plus years. Solid platform there. I'll show you a few of their sites as well. Web Scribble, shout out to Web Scribble. Again, another association type of software. They also do a lot of independent job boards as well. A little pricier than the other products in the market. There is a setup fee, and it might cost you maybe, you know, something like $1,000 a month on there, but you can customize it to your, you know, to what you want essentially. So that's when they'll build the customizations up for you for Web Scribble. Jobico, based out of Austria, one of my advertisers there. Again, solid product. They've got a matching algorithm built into theirs as well. And then the last two are new players, the newest players in the market, JobBoard Fire and JobRoll. Both are very cheap, and they're kind of simple job posting platforms. You still don't have a lot of the features the others have yet, but I think they're ones to watch overall. So let's just go out quickly to the look at some of these players. So this is Smart Job Board, again, my favorite. You can get a 14-day free trial from them. They've got again, you can see their admin tool here, very clean. When you log in, you see your dashboard, how much money you made, how many jobs posted, that kind of stuff. The employer section even has a little built-in like kind of light ATS product to it, to where the employers can move candidates into different stages and also reject them and things like that. So that's a nice feature as well. On the job seeker side, it's a quick registration. You can actually hook up with LinkedIn's applies or signups, Facebook, I think as well, Google as well, if you turn those features on. They've been around for over 10 years, over 2,000 job boards have trusted them. You can go check out hospitalcareers.com. It's one of their flagships clients, I guess. And I have a site called HR Lancers on there, which I'll show you quickly. And they have several different themes you can choose from. They just came out with a pane view theme, one of the few job board softwares that actually have that. And customization too. So I took off on my site, I took off the search box, and I focused just on an image. And I want people to go into the site to start searching and drive up page views that way. So this is my site here. This is on Smart Job Board's platform. I've got a little cover area there, cover image. Got the employer section, featured jobs, call off for freelancers to join, and then the blog section here overall. So very nice tool, great content management system built into it. You can create pages, you can create blogs. I even set up a site for a staffing firm. They replaced their existing regular website with Smart Job Board because it is so flexible. It's got the content features you can do. So you can basically make it a Squarespace or it's an equivalent to a Squarespace or WordPress site if you want it to be. Overall, it just has a job board built into it, if you will. So that's Smart Job Board. Let's take a quick look at Jobboard.io. Now owned by ZipRecruiter. So if you do use them, that's who the company was acquired by a couple years ago. Their pricing a little bit different. They charge, well, $249 is the basic one. That's kind of a limited product. You don't have any profiles with that for seekers. But $449 is their Pro one, which kind of is everything you need to run a full job board today overall. That's compared with $299 with like a Smart Job Board, for example. Pretty good, very good product. A lot of support around there. Candidate profiles. You can do custom products in there, custom fields. I mean, a lot of the services have that. Employer profiles and accounts. They're all mobile design. First of all, I mean, most job board software is today. So you can do that. You can even have multiple job boards on their platform. So there's a little drop down they give you around that. So if you do have multiple job boards, which I do, my account does with them. And really good product. The integrations with some backfill providers here as well. And so here's an example of one of my sites that I have on Jobboard.io. You can kind of see what that looks like. Their templates are a little more static. You can't do as much with them as far as customization goes. It's hard to change colors on a Jobboard.io, for example, versus a Smart. But this is what the platform looks like overall. Here's what the jobs look like themselves. So it's very templated. You upload a logo, you choose a theme, and off you go. You can insert CSS styling on many of these platforms to change the looks of small things, but for the most part, these are templated services. You don't have access to the underlying code, so you can't build on top of these, for example. You can buy access to the API, but you can't go in there and change the code on any of these things other than CSS styling overall. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look at YM Careers. So I just actually had a demo with them last week to get a quick update on their product. And I was was impressed. Actually, I used to use YM Careers back when they were known as Job Target, when I ran my all county jobs sites, and they since branched off into this new entity, YM Careers, and they serve over 3,000 job boards today. Most of those are associations, professional associations that use them to power the job section of their site. A great example would be SHRM, the Society for HR Management. If you go to jobs.shrm.org, that is a site run by YM Careers. The reason to use these guys, again, if you want more of a hands-off approach to your job board, they actually do one thing that a lot of other platforms don't. They provide content to your site. So they have these different modules they can plug in, like career modules based on whatever niche you're into. And I'll show you some of that if I can, and give you content for the seekers as well. They also have a lot of built-in marketing support on their back end. So you can like download like email templates to send out to your prospective employers and seekers. They've got downloadable images as well. So they do provide a lot of kind of support on the marketing side of things for those owners that may not have that marketing know-how in-house, which a lot of the associations don't. Right? They're not job board entrepreneurs. They run professional associations, and so YM Careers does a pretty good job at assisting them in promoting their job board overall. Yeah, they also have a bunch of like networks, niche networks they'll put your site into, and they'll actually go out. They have a whole sales team that goes out and pushes job postings. So you can essentially have a pseudo salesperson selling your job board into the market as well. They just launched one of this. Here's a site they launched recently. They told me about vetcarejobs.com, just to give you a sense of what it looks like. Very clean interface. They said that the owner of the site just give them a logo, and their designers came up with the rest. So it is templated, but they do a pretty nice job of the design, I thought, overall. It's simple, effective. That's what you want with a job board today. You don't want to have a crazy looking design. You want simple interfaces that are mobile friendly, of course, and that look nice, right? So this does the job here, in my opinion. Here's the career resources section. This is where they have that content I told you about. So they've got all kinds of stuff around preparation, resume writing tips that you can take advantage of overall. And so that's an example of YM Careers today. And SHRM is the other one, jobs.shrm.com for the others. All right, we got 10 minutes here, so I got to run through this quickly. Let's take a quick look at Hiring Ops. So Hiring Ops, just a few things about them. Very solid platform, up and coming. They're one of the newer players on the scene. They've got video interviews baked in. They got Zapier integrations, messaging, so employers can message candidates as well, which a lot of the software other providers don't have overall. And so they run sites like I think IT, Job Cafe, some of those. Here are some of the customers here. Let's see. Golf Jobs is one of those. I think Golf Jobs is on the call today. But here's a quick look at their platform. So not bad. Simple, effective interface. That's all you want with job board software. Don't recreate the wheel. You want that search box on the front there. That's what job seekers are used to. All right, let's move on to Job Mounts. Give a quick shout out to those guys. It's jobboardmount.com. That's their URL. You can look at some of their software products down here. I'll skip some of those for now. Get fully featured platform. They've been around for a long time. Shout out to the Aspen Tech people who own this. They also have job wrapping, so they can basically their job wrapping service can take any site or employer and scrape their jobs for you automatically. So look at them if you're looking for any kind of job scraping out there. Great service. It's about $25 per scrape, I think, overall. All right, let's take a quick look at Market Grabber. I believe they're based in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. Here is there. They also do some other products for the industry, real estate, product section, stuff like that. I think one of their new sites is grocerystorejobs.com. So here's an example of Market Grabber in action. Nice movable cover image coming in. Employers hiring, featured jobs. Let's take a quick look at a posting. Very simple, direct. Their tech is a little older in tech, but still very solid product. Can't go wrong with it. Again, look at the pricing and see what you can afford. Some do charge setup fees, depending on especially if you want something custom built. But that's Market Grabber there. Web Scribble. Again, big association company. That's kind of what they're known for. They do have other independent job boards as well on their product line. And again, a little pricier. There is a setup fee and maybe $1,000 a month, something like that. Don't quote me, but it's on that level of scale overall. Quick shout out to Jobico. They've got AI matching, so they do match seekers to jobs inside the platform. I've never seen it actually work, but I'm told it's pretty decent. They're based in Austria. They've also got video as well embedded into their products where job seekers can upload a video themselves, I believe. They also have course integrations too, which is a nice revenue piece as well. You can add into it to create courses for your seekers as well. All right, last two, we got Job Board Fire. These guys just came. I just discovered these guys last year. They have a free trial. It's pretty much a job posting website versus I don't think they have the ability to have resumes on the site. So it's just job postings. I think your revenue streams are limited with them. It's really just pay to post, and that's it. I'm not sure they even have backfill. Oh, they do actually, yeah. ZipRecruiter, with ZipRecruiter there. So it's a newer product. If you're looking for something simple, that won't cost a lot. They don't show the pricing, but I'm pretty sure it's cheap. I think they took the pricing down for some reason. But base, you get up to 5,000 jobs. You can have up to 2,000 job alerts overall. There is backfill with ZipRecruiter. Okay, so that's good. You can do XML imports with the Pro version. Okay, so if you do want to do scraping, you can do that. Custom domain, yep, of course. Everybody has that. Profiles, employee profiles, no. So I don't know a whole lot about them, but one to look at as well. Here are some live examples. Let's take a quick look. Here's GirlBoss is a pretty big site, actually. They launched a job board with them. Jobs.girlboss.com. Very simple looking platform. Nothing too crazy here. The apply probably links out. Yep. So, and finally, jobrole.co. Let's take a quick look at this one. So this one is free, and it's RevShare. I'm not sure what the percentage is. It says a small percentage cut from the premium job post fees. Custom domain, integrated payment system. It's got a built-in newsletter. This is something I wish the others would have. Like Smart Job Board doesn't even have this. The ability to keep your system up to date, or your seekers up to date with a kind of an email blast system. That's nice. So this one's pretty basic, probably the most basic out of all the top 10s, but it is a simple one. If you just need something quick and dirty, let's take a quick look at their demo here. Jobrole.co is the URL for them. Here's their site in action. Again, very simple. Little alert box on the bottom. This would probably be good for like a publisher that wants to add just jobs to its site, for example, without spending much. The other one who's RevShare is YM Careers, actually, so forgot to mention that. So YM Careers will set your site up free, and they typically take, it's like, 80-20, 70-30, something like that, from the RevShare. So that's another reason to use them if you want to get up quickly with no costs. It takes them about a month or two to get you up and running. But that's another example of the RevShare version of job board software, which JobRoll is. So that's my take on job board software here. So let me close out, see what kind of questions we have. All right. So what kind of questions do we have? 3 words on write your own custom software. Don't do it. Chris can. Well, yes, I can give you a different idea. Before you go out and buy something or build something, talk to me first as a consultant. I'll help guide you a bit overall. Would you write your own custom software? I really wouldn't, Ryan. I would, there's 21 different job board software providers plus WordPress. Don't reinvent the wheel. I've seen too many owners come into me, months later after trying to build their own, and they're running into a huge host of problems. Their developer doesn't know how to build a job board. They're missing key features. It doesn't work very well. It's not fast. The job board cloud software providers, you don't worry about tech. You worry about building a business, and that's the most important thing in the first year of any job board, is building the foundation of your house before you can actually build a business on top of that. And so you don't want to worry about technology when it comes to launching your job board, particularly if you don't know it's going to fly, right? You got to prove there's a market that exists for your niche that you're going into. And that's why I almost always recommend going with a cloud provider because it makes it a lot easier to get launched quickly. My customers are shocked at how quickly I can get them up and running with like a smart job board, for example. I mean, it takes me 2 days to get you up and running, essentially. And so prove a market exists for your site first, for whatever niche you're going after, and you'll be a lot better off that way. You can always, build later and take the data later if you do want to build something custom. The really only reason to build something custom is if you want something really customized feature set that the job board softwares don't have. And so that's really the only reason to do that. And you got to really have a good development team too as well. So keep that in mind. All right, let's get Peter Zollman on and talk about the global job board software markets. So let me find Peter in the list here and invite him on screen. There he is. All right, Peter, I'm going to send you an invite here. And we'll get him on the screen.
Well, by golly, there I am.
There he is.
Good afternoon or good morning or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Lots of people all around the world. So it's great to be here. I said in the notes, Chris can give you a much more detailed response on why you shouldn't build your own software. You certainly did that very, very adequately, far better than I can, and I'm sure you'll get back to the people with questions later about questions like, can you migrate data later if you switch vendors? Short answer, yes. And let's talk about what's going on around the world.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's what is in many ways leading what's happening in the U.S., and in other ways it's following what's happening in the U.S. Let's see, it says stop sharing. No, we're going to hide this. We're going to pop this up, and let's see if that worked. By golly. Is that working for you, Chris?
Yep.
Good. What's new in 2021? We're going to talk about a number of things. Getting through the pandemic, obviously a huge issue for lots of people. Niche versus general. Who's going to win? That's an endless debate that's been going on about as long as our job board's dying. Short answer to the latter question is no, obviously, otherwise you wouldn't be here. We'll talk a little bit about Recruit, Indeed, and Glassdoor, the big boys in the industry. Everyone wants to.
Can you click
Go
on
ahead.
the second slide there?
I'm sorry?
Your slides aren't changing.
Slides are not showing well.
Click on the second one there, for number 1.
Okay, let's try to share slides again. Let's go here, share screen, application window, and I'm seeing top 10. Oh, PowerPoint shut down, so give me a second to fire up PowerPoint again. Apologies. When I closed that, it shut it down. So here it comes. Deck 12, Deck 14. Now I should be able to share this, and let's see if that works. How's that, Chris? Is that showing up?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Jump over here. Now go to share screen, application windows, PowerPoint slideshow. Now it says it's sharing. There it is.
There we go. We got it. Yep.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Technology and all that stuff.
Just scroll
So
to the
we'll
second
talk-
page, make sure we can see it.
You see getting through the pandemic?
No.
No.
It's
It's
on the homepage still.
stuck on the first page.
Want me to share mine then?
Yeah, share it on yours, and we'll.
Go ahead, start talking. I'll
My
pull it up.
technology provider is behind me. She'll fix it. She'll fix it quicker than I can.
We tried this yesterday, guys, just through a
My
test. and,
my boss and my technology provider.
give it one more shot, and then if it doesn't work, I'll try it.
Yeah, here we go. Let's try one more time. Now start slideshow from beginning. Now are you seeing it? From the beginning?
Nope.
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 Not at all, eh?
Let me share yours. I got it queued up here.
Okay. I'll try one more time. PowerPoint slideshow. Share. Has that come up, Chris?
Yes, now I got it.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the pandemic, niche versus general. Let me know if it's scrolling and
Yep,
moving.
it's working. We're good.
Is it working right now?
Yep, good. Go.
When the boss comes over and fixes things, it's a great thing. 46 years of marriage, and she's still the one who can make my computer dance and sing when I can't. Okay, Recruit, Indeed, and Glassdoor we'll talk about. Who wants to be a gig site? Reverse recruitment, which is something we covered in our report last year, and Chris said it's fascinating, and I quite agree. Programmatic, AI and ML, I put them in the same line, but they're really not. And international trends for 2021. And I'm going to get started just by telling you a little bit about the AIM Group. We do business intelligence, news and analysis. We have conferences, including a recruitment conference for job boards, and do consulting on a much different level than Chris does. He is really nuts and bolts. We are a little more strategic, global. We focus on marketplaces and classified advertising. John Zapp, whom many of you know, has rejoined us as our senior analyst. We work at senior levels with marketplaces, classified companies, investors, etc. And we have more than 30 analysts all around the globe. My standard line about that is we have clients on every continent except Antarctica, and we have people who work for us on every continent except Antarctica. I don't expect we'll get Antarctica anytime soon. We'll have a free giveaway at the end. This is our 2021 Recruitment Marketplaces Annual. It's coming out in about 2 weeks. You can use JobBoardCon to get a discount on it, and more details about that later. Getting through the pandemic. It's been a rough year. You know this already. This was 1 year ago. Recruitment listing volumes index to 100. That was January 28th of 2020 at the beginning of this slide. That's April 21st, also in 2020, at the end of the slide. Some of the sites dropped 70% in 8 weeks in listings. And some places, revenue fell even more than that because they were extending listings, they were offering free listings, and so forth. The decline in job postings on Indeed as of April 10th, 2020, in New Zealand down 59%, 58%, in Ireland down 39%, Canada 43%, Australia 49%, 50%, and so forth down the line. So the number of postings fell off a cliff in many markets. What did everyone do? Many of them reduced or eliminated listing fees entirely. That's not a long-term business strategy, but it certainly is a good way to make good friends with your customers. You temporarily cut rates or extended listings. They dropped fees for ancillary services like video interviews or resume or consulting assistance on CVs. And in many cases, the sites redirected displaced workers. So if you worked in a restaurant that you were laid off, they knew that supermarkets were hiring like mad, and they offered support with that. Hospitality people are good with customer service, or supposedly, so direct them to telephone customer service, which was growing. And a lot of sites added editorial content for people who were laid off. What happened? Stepstone in Germany offered free healthcare sector job listing. LinkedIn said healthcare, supermarket, warehouse, and package delivery companies could post new mission-critical jobs until June 30th. Monster Worldwide made healthcare jobs free. Adevinta, several free job offers. Moonlighting in the U.S., a freelance marketplace, dropped all fees. Unlimited free access. Headhunter in Russia extended access to its CV database, and so forth. And support for furloughed workers. Hilton Hotels employees were directed to jobs at Amazon, CVS, Albertsons supermarkets, and others. And the UK-based Tempo offered to furlough workers that it had placed in temp jobs, because that allowed them to get up to 80% of their wages from the UK government. It was an interesting way to handle it. And a lot of companies in the UK did the same thing. If you were furloughed, you could get 80% of your wages, similar to our PPP program, but different in the PPP program in the state, but different. So what's happened? The effects vary very radically worldwide. Some countries are still in very severe lockdowns. Melbourne, Australia, they're barely allowed out of their houses. In some places, pandemic had little or no impact, and in some the recovery is well underway. I would say in the U.S., if you look at the jobless numbers, the recovery is underway, but certainly not well underway, and it varies intensely by industry. Obviously, healthcare is going gangbusters. Hotels, not so much. Listings and revenue are recovering in most areas. We've looked around the world, and they seem to be getting better, but that's from a deep, deep trough. The whole pandemic radically sped up evolution of the job board industry. Mobile became almost the only way to go. Apps too. There are simplified application tools for job seekers. People don't want to go online and fill out a 3-page form to apply for a job, although they may have the time. A lot of our clients and a lot of companies we talk to have dropped pending projects. If it was on the want to do this list or it would be nice to have list, it was gone. If it was essential, it moved to the top of the pack. Whatever was essential, and at obviously various companies, various things are essential, but if it was optional, it was gone. If it was essential, it happened. Everybody focused on who's hiring now, not building for the future. We'll get back to building for the future. Right now, everybody's still focused on who's hiring now, I think, most of you anyway. There was a lot of temporary focus on gigs and part-time work. We'll talk more about that in a bit. So this was the chart extended out for almost a year. That's the original chart I showed you where things were down as much as 70-75%. There was a slow recovery during the last 10 months. And then if you look where we are now, most of the sites are between 50 and 100% of their listings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are up to 100% or more. The ones that had radical growth in listings are generally doing different things like free listings or extending out the listings and so forth. Some sites still down 50% or more, others are near 100 or at 100, and the two showing significant listing growth. Okay, niche versus general. Who wins? Boy, did you see a lot of niche sites that Chris showed you already. The estimate is that 75% of all job boards are niche sites, but no one really knows. The last estimate I saw of how many job boards are there worldwide was 100,000. That came from Peter Weddle. It was more than 10 years ago. Who knows if there are more now or less? There's been a lot of consolidation, but there's also been a lot of growth and a lot of launches. Associations have added job boards, organizations, job boards, etc., etc. No one really knows. I certainly don't.
There's less. My guess it's like, I don't know, 20,000, 30,000. There's only 20 different job board software vendors, right? And the biggest ones like, YM Careers have 3,000 customers. So there's no way there's 100,000 in my opinion. That number was always kind of far off, I thought.
It's very, very, very hard to say. You probably know better than I do, Chris. But I'll tell you, if we were to start counting, I bet you and I could both get to 30,000 just in the U.S. So general recruitment sites, LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, and the other big names, Monster, Career Builder, even though they're not very powerful anymore, they serve a purpose. Headhunter in Russia, and so forth and so on, all around the world, Seek in Australia, they serve an absolute critical purpose for people who want to search broadly. But niches do too, especially by creating community engagement. And the good news is you're going to have, in 15 minutes, you're going to have a presentation from guys who will help you understand how to create engagement. We'll talk about Incredible Health, the site for nurses. Here in recruiting, here's a niche. Recruiting, 1, 2, 3. HR Crossing, 4. HR Resources jobs, 5. I Hire HR, and one that Chris is very familiar with, recruiting and HR jobs. That's just in one niche. And by the way, I checked, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Here in Geographic, there's California jobs. They were pushing their mobile app. Missouri jobs, Nebraska jobs, Employ NV, one of the things I liked about this, register, and they also have it en Espanol. Very helpful in a place like Nevada. You've got Hire Guam if you're looking for a tropical, idyllic place to go to. That's still officially part of the United States. Good place to go. And then there are tradesmen, there's phlebotomists. By the way, I looked for phlebotomy jobs a few months ago. There are at least 6 job boards just for phlebotomy. No, that was more than a year ago, before the pandemic. There were at least 6 job sites for phlebotomists.
Hard to spell.
Amazing. HVAC, there's GitHub and Stack Overflow and the real nitty-gritty tech job boards, aviation, millions of jobs, thousands of companies, hundreds of sites, etc. So who wins? Short answer, both. General job boards serve a unique purpose, so do niche jobs. But in niche jobs, building community is essential. You've got to move away from duration-based listings. If you're just a job board, as my friends in Brooklyn would say, forget about it. You know, you just aren't going to be around much if you're just a job board. So who wants to be a gig site? Everyone.
LinkedIn does.
Gigs are different from jobs. Gig sites differ from job boards. Most of the gig sites take a percentage rather than charging for listings. Some also take a fee on top of that. It's very international because why not? Gig work is growing. 25 to 30% of workers are either full-time or supplement, and 10% of all workers in the U.S., it's now their primary income. They work for Shipt, they work for Lyft, they work for Uber, they work for all of the above, Instacart, and so forth, and they make their primary income through gigs. My personal trainer, don't get excited, I barely can afford him, but my personal trainer gets his jobs mainly through gig sites. And there's open warfare about gigs. Should people get benefits? Should people be treated as employees? There was a ruling in the UK last week that Uber must treat its cab drivers in London as employees, or its drivers in London as employees. In California, there was a vote on the whole gig economy. So that warfare will continue for a while. Here are gig sites you probably know. TaskRabbit, for people who wanted to put together their IKEA furniture and people who wanted to put together bookshelves and things like that. Look who bought them. IKEA bought them. Then there's Fiverr, there's Freelancer, there's Guru, there's TopTal, Handy, and some of these have niches of their own, and some of these are very, very generic and general. There's Upwork, there's HR Lancers. Chris, you know that one, I presume. Mm-hmm. And we'll get back to my story about Upwork in a minute. Lest we forget, the original gig site, Craigslist, is still a big gig site, and I believe, if I remember correctly from our most recent report, they charge $5 per gig ad. So they're not making a ton of money on gig ads, but they still make a ton of money. So our story with gig work, we needed somebody to do some art and some design. We went on Upwork. We could have gone on any one of a dozen sites. We went on Upwork, and we found this guy, Alexei B., detail-oriented graphic designer. We used him once. He's in Almaty, Kazakhstan. He is incredibly responsive. He is fabulous, and he's so good. We pay him $45 an hour, and I looked at the cost of living in Kazakhstan. That's probably like $100 or $120 an hour in the States, but he's worth it, every penny of it. We even added him to our masthead. He works for us pretty regularly now. And then I said to myself, well, where the hell is Kazakhstan? I flunked my geography test, so I went online and I looked. It's somewhere north of Pakistan, Afghanistan, east of Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan and Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, and it's southeast of Russia, west of China, and we work with him like he were down the block. He's great.
Awesome.
You know, so here a gig, there a gig. Everyone wants to be a gig site. Facebook may add gig jobs to its Facebook marketplace. Note this is separate from Facebook jobs. It's planning that. It told us they're planning to add them soon. In December they told us that. What comes up 8 weeks later? LinkedIn, building gig marketplace. Yeah. Why? They want to compete with Fiverr and Upwork. This was in February. This is 2 weeks ago, I guess, last week. They want to compete with Fiverr and Upwork. We posted that on our website, by the way. Our articles generally get 500 to 800 views. This one was up to 32,000 views as of yesterday morning. So it's amazing.
I think it's time to short Upwork stock, by the way.
You know, LinkedIn and Facebook will be formidable competitors, but as we all know, niche sites really can succeed. Let's talk about reverse recruitment for about 4 minutes because I'm running short on time.
Yeah, 9 minutes, yep.
Yeah, lost 6 minutes at the front, but I'm going to make it up. Employers apply to talent and not the other way around in reverse recruitment. It's a fascinating concept. The companies know they want to hire typically tech or healthcare, and so it's a cross between executive search and a job board. One of them told us the talent should be in the driver's seat. High demand jobs, high tech, nurses, developers. The reverse guy told us finding a new job is frustrating. We let the job seeker say what they want and then go find it. That reduces time to hire for hot positions. Get a 96% response rate from candidates, and 3 in 5 proceed to the interview stage. Candidates are heavily vetted by the reverse recruitment companies, because if they put somebody in a job who doesn't work out, it reflects very badly on them, and they got to pay back the fee, so they don't like that. Only 5 to 10% of candidates are accepted. The companies have to attract the best candidates. That's hard. They offer mentors, career coaching. They find candidates at conferences, networking events, and through referrals, and through social media, big way for them to find candidates. The pitch is that they add value to candidates across their careers, and they make it a much more candidate-centric experience than just applying for a job. So job boards, the whole reverse recruiting, there was Hired, which was purchased by Vettery, Honeypot in Europe, there's Talent.io, there's Revelo, I don't know, and Incredible Health. I'll tell you about them in a minute. Hired was purchased by Vettery, which is owned by Adecco. Revelo and GetLinks have investments from Seek, the giant job board in Australia. They bought Onploy, and Onploy in turn ticked off their recruiter companies so much that Seek dropped it. Incredible Health. They match nurses with hospitals. They offer free tools, salary, software calculator, and one of their pitches is that they make sure the nurses are paid equitably. They say they get an average 17% increase in salary, 15% reduction in commute time, which if you think about nurses, that's probably really helpful. Nurses love this. Flip the script. Enjoy the feeling when employers compete for you. Reduce fill time from 82 days to less than 20 days. And they use real-life human experts as well as algorithms. So it's a combination approach. They build a community around nurses. They have spa nights, yoga retreats, wellness events. Obviously not in the past year, but they did a lot of that. They offer free continuing ed, which is very important for nurses, networking tips, and so forth and so on. They even give you tips on writing a resignation letter to your current job. So how do the reverse recruiters get clients? They say it takes a special kind of employer, and a lot of clients don't really understand it yet. One of them told us, I don't think job boards are competitors, they're really complementary. This was an article we ran in our last year's recruitment annual. It's open to you on our website. Just use the search term GetLinks, GETLINKS, and you'll find it. Indeed, Recruit, and Glassdoor. Recruit is a publicly traded 60-year-old company in Japan. By Japanese standard, that's what makes it a relatively new company. They are very long-term players, but they are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. They have a wide range of holdings in recruitment, staffing, and talent. They also offer HR technology and software, but they're into life events, marketing, communications, lifestyle, and more. So Indeed launched in 2004. Recruit bought it 8 years later for a reported price of $1 billion. It has grown like crazy. Then they went and bought Glassdoor. Launched in 2007. They bought it for $1.2 billion, and it has grown like crazy. And they're making them come closer and closer together. Their combined revenue in fiscal 2018 was $3 billion. Fiscal 2019 was $3.9 billion, or a 30% increase year over year. We're not looking at fiscal 2020 yet. It's not really comparable. They face competitive threats from LinkedIn, Google for Jobs, Facebook Jobs, Jubal, and all of you to a degree. You probably haven't heard of Jubal, by the way. They're a big aggregator. LinkedIn, Indeed, and Glassdoor rather relied heavily on Google for traffic. Now they're using other sites more, and they're coming closer and closer and closer together. They're going to maintain separate identities, but they job postings are on Indeed are now on Glassdoor, and oh, by the way, Indeed Glassdoor got rid of its sales staff, and now or some of its sales staff, and now Indeed is hiring it. Top monthly visits, look at that. That was January 2020. Again, we're going back to last year because you can't compare with this year. 1, 2 in the U.S., top 50 in the world rather, top 50 recruitment sites globally. The rankings are based on traffic. Their revenue is off the chart. Here's the article about Recruit, the same thing. It's open on our website. You can search for Recruit. You can search for Minegishi, which is the name of one of the CEO. We're going to talk about AI programmatic, and believe it or not, Chris, I'll wrap up just about on time. I may run 1 minute long or 2 minutes, but not more than that. AI, ML, and programmatic. Prachu in Poland found that with AI and ML, they can predict the number of applications per listing with 70% accuracy. eJobs is in Romania, the #1 job site in Romania. They suggest email jobs by email, and they get a 5x greater response. Xiaopin, which is in China and was owned until just last week by Seek. They now own about 28% of it. They offer personalized job search and get a 30% bump in applications per candidate. There's AI ML chatbots. This is one of the chatbots that I was looking at, and it said, well, basically there was a project I worked on where we used convolutional neural, and that's where it lost me completely. But the chatbot is supposed to understand that and relay that to the recruiter. Programmatic is used extensively in the U.S., but it's still nascent or growing internationally, been very heavily dependent on the country and market. It's been a great hot topic of discussion for job boards, though. Some places it's catching on quickly, others it's catching on slowly or not at all. I could spend an hour on it, but I won't. That's it for programmatic. So the other global trends that I'll blast through, literally, growing along the value chain is one that I really shouldn't blast through. I should spend a little more time on. But Stepstone realized that job listings was not enough. So they're offering career guidance and orientation and job search and ways to research the employer and research salary, check cultural fit, application online, and on. All of that as opposed to just being a job board. The data land grab, resumes, CV profiles, search, ATSs, third-party data like LinkedIn, data pooling between various companies or various industries and associations, and company culture all being combined into a big blender so people can look through it and see who's going to fit. Haven't covered video, initial screening, advertising, recruiting with video. That's kind of gone on hold. I don't see as much of it, but there's still a fair amount. Interviewing by video, is there any other kind these days? Texting candidates, very important trend. Very difficult to deal with due to GDPR and CCPA. Data privacy and security. Improvement of the candidate experience and eliminating the black hole. Companies sharing applicants and data. OFCCP issues way over my head. Diversity and inclusion, important last month, important this month, and frankly important every single month. Veteran sites, diversity sites, blinding resumes or CVs for diversity. Job site tie-ins with education, that's very critical. Geofencing and geotargeting, onboarding, and much more. So, I promised a free giveaway at the end. I'm at the end, so I told you, Chris, I'd run 2 minutes long.
No problem.
Job Board Con discount 20% if you want to buy it. It's coming out later this month, but the 14th person who registered, I have no idea who that is, and I asked Kristen. He said he'll look it up later. 14th person who registered will get a free copy of our 2021 Recruitment Marketplaces Annual. I'll email it to you. You can sign up for free news at our website. Just go to aimgroup.com. You can download our free COVID-19 report. Lots of good information there. It's a little dated, but there's still lots of valuable information. Thanks to Chris Russell. Thanks to you guys. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay well. And we are, fingers crossed, we're having our RecBuzz conference in Germany in October. Chris will, we hope, be able to help us out with that. And even better, we hope to see you in October in Germany in person. So that's my contact. That would be nice. That would be really nice. Hope to see you there, Chris, and hope to see all of you. That's my contact information, and I'm done.
Awesome. Well, Peter, appreciate your time today. That was great.
Thanks.
Excellent run through about what's happening in the space, and it's a golden age of job tech.
It's been a pretty amazing year, and I don't think there's anybody who would argue with that. Yep. It's been an amazing year. So thanks for having me, and I'm going to stick around because I want to see about building engagement and some of the other things.
Excellent. We'll appreciate it again, Peter. And
thanks, sir.
All right, let's close him out, and we'll grab Mac and Keith coming up here. There's also a question I'm going to answer for the audience there. Let me just get Mac and Keith on the line first. There's Mac. Let's invite him. And where's Keith? There's Keith. Okay. Just invited you both. So we had a question in the audience from Oris. He asked, what are the current solutions to improve diversity and inclusion on job ads? So good question, Oris. I just did an event on this type of tool, but look at OnGig, look at JobWriter, look at TapRecruit, and Textio. Those are your kind of four. Also, I think there's another one too called, I can't remember the name of it, but those four. So OnGig, TapRecruit, JobWriter are some of those companies that will help companies with their job ads. So, all right, Keith and Mac, can you both hear me?
I can.
I can, Chris.
Excellent. All right. How are you guys?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
We're good. So let me introduce you guys. My guests for this session are Mac Pritchard, founder of maxlist.org. It's a local job community that serves the Pacific Northwestern U.S. states with jobs and resources. And he joins us now from the West Coast. Hey, Mac.
Hey, Chris.
And we've got Keith Klein, founder of VentureFizz.com, the leading job and company discovery website focused on the tech industry, where you can find ideal opportunities and everything you need about a company, its people, and culture. So, Keith, welcome to you.
Thanks for having me, Chris. This is awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to you guys. Both these guys, folks on the audience, very successful sites. They're six-figure businesses, do a great job at community building with their job boards. And so that's the focus of today's panel here. It is about building community. It's not about just having jobs on your site anymore. You've got to go beyond that. And you do that a lot with content, for one thing. And both these guys do a great job at that with their platform. So, Mac, we'll just start with you. What year did you start Max List? And then give us a sense of the size of your site today. How many jobs? What your traffic is like? Things like that.
We're coming up on our 20th anniversary, Chris. I started Max List in the summer of 2001. It was a way of serving my professional network by sharing job postings. And I did that very informally for almost a decade, and by just forwarding postings that crossed my desk. And as the years went by, it became a part-time job. And so about 10 years ago, I turned it into a business. I launched a website. And let me just say, I made the rookie mistake of hiring someone to write a code. And if I could go back in a time machine, I would say hire a third-party software vendor. But the business grew slowly. It was a side project. I got serious about it about 5 years ago, and today we serve employers and job seekers in Oregon and Washington. But our content attracts people from all around the country and outside the United States.
Nice. Matt, get a little closer to your mic too. People are having trouble hearing you. I
Sure.
think.
Okay.
Keith, let's same question to you. When did you start Venture Fizz, and give us a sense of the size of it today?
Sure. I started Venture Fizz in 2009 as a side project. So for 7 years, it was like a side project that continued on to the point where I was like, I think there's more here. So it's been my full-time thing for 3 years now. Let's see, size. So we've been around for a while. So we get close to 100,000 visitors a month. That equates to about 200 to 300,000 page views.
Excellent. Okay. So beyond jobs, I'd like to hear from each of you around what other types of content you produce to educate and inform your users. Mac, you want to go first?
Absolutely. And is the mic working now, Chris? Can
Yeah, you
hear
sound a
me?
little bit clear, a little bit louder
Okay,
now.
terrific. We've always provided content since we started our website. And I knew, as somebody who went through 2 long periods of unemployment in a career in communications, the importance of learning job search as a skill. So as a job board operator, I'll be the first person to tell a job seeker, you can't spend all of your time looking at sites like mine. You got to get good at job search as a skill. And so we have articles, 2 books, 3 online courses, a weekly podcast that provides that content, but we just don't serve job seekers. Many of the employers who advertise with us, they're small operations. Hiring is not a frequent event, and it's usually assigned to somebody who's not trained in how to write a posting, manage a hiring process, and how to make an offer, negotiate salary, and that can create unintentionally a frustrating process for both the employer and the candidate. That's why we provide a lot of content about how to do hiring smarter. And our mission is for both parties to make hiring more human.
Awesome. Keith, I was on your site yesterday. You do a great job with, I think, which is a great marketing tactic too, which is highlighting the companies and the people who work in your industry. So just talk about that philosophy a bit in terms of how you do that, why you do it, and success you see from it.
Yeah, so we serve a very targeted set of eyeballs. So it's people working in the tech industry. So it's people that are in different job functions, whether it's marketing, product management, software engineering, user experience, sales, customer success. So all the usual job functions in a tech company is the audience that we service. And they largely know what they want to do professionally. They just need help discovering the companies that exist out there. So all the content that we create is focused on that mission. So we're not a news site. Sometimes people confuse us to be as such, but we are a site that gives the inside look of a company, their people, and their culture. So how we do that is through all types of mediums: podcasting, video, interviews, Q&As, employee profiles to help out with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So companies that we're working in partnership with them to create this content. So it's sometimes we like to consider ourselves the anti-Glassdoor, where the companies are controlling the narrative of their brand, because that's ultimately what we are. We're a job board and employment branding website. But content's always been a key piece of our existence. There was an iteration where we were newsy a little bit. We would cover tech startups that were looking for coverage just because they were the up and comers, almost like the farm system, hoping that they will scale and grow. But it just didn't match up. Once I kind of took Venture Fizz on full time and stuck my nose into our content, I realized the newsy stuff wasn't really what our audience wanted. They wanted to learn about a company, their people, and their culture, because they're coming to our site to discover hopefully the next step in their career and apply to one of the jobs.
Interesting. So now, do you sell the content to them, or do you approach them about and do it for free? Tell me more about how you.
Yeah, it's a subscription business. So they pay us a quarterly or annual subscription. And with that, they get a company profile page. They get unlimited postings to our job board, and they get access to all the content series that we publish in partnership with them.
Excellent. I wanted to ask, before the pandemic, did either of you host any in-person events?
We did. We typically did 5 or 6 in-person events a year at MaxList, and usually in partnership with a local university or college or an employer. And typically about 80 to 100 people would come. They were a great way of building connections with readers in the community, but it was also they also provided opportunities to showcase employers and uh, strengthen relationships with both clients and business prospects. Because typically we had a panel discussion, Chris. So you had to be an expert to be on the panel, but we would focus on either clients that we had a history with or employers we hope to build a relationship with. So we were able both to serve the job seekers and serve the business as well.
Yep. How about you, Keith?
Yeah, we would probably host one or two events. So the little bit of a history, like why it was, VentureFizz, the audience was largely in the Boston tech community, and then expanded to New York 3 years ago. And now with people hiring remote, we support hiring for remote positions. But I live outside the Philadelphia area. So my wife grew up down here. So we moved down here 15 years ago. So for me to plan an event that was in person, it would be a massive undertaking. I would have to figure out the venue, which a lot of our customers would probably host it for us. You'd have to figure out the logistics, the food, the beverage. Do people show up? The drop off rate would stress me out. So I didn't do as many events as I wanted to, but now that people are so used to doing these events online, I'm doing an event one or two a month. So like we have an event coming up next Wednesday. It's called Path to CTO. So it's interviewing the CTO of a company called Motional that's building autonomous driving vehicles and that whole system. So we're doing a ton more of events now. The fact that we can do these online and people are used to them.
Yeah. Are you doing them over Zoom, or what platform are you using for those?
Yeah, it's Zoom. I've been using Zoom for 2.5 years now. So it wasn't the pandemic that turned me on to Zoom. I realized, because of the logistics, I had to figure out ways that I can communicate with my customers easily. And Zoom was like the no-brainer solution. Like I was Google Hangouts for a bit, but Zoom is a much better experience.
Yeah. How about you, Mac? Have you moved to virtual as well?
We haven't yet. It's on the list to do. I would say, just reflecting on the past, Keith, one way we dealt with the concerns you raised, and we shared them about high no-show rates, dealing with caterers and the like, by partnering with local colleges here. They had people in place who could do that for us. They could arrange
That's a
for
good
the
point.
food.
Mhm.
And the reason they would partner with us is typically they wanted to promote a degree program, and they wanted to
Mhm.
get people in the room who might be considering a graduate program. And so our job was to supply the 75, the 100 people. And because we have 75,000 people come to our website every month and a good database, we had access to those names. But by partnering with those colleges, we were able to take a lot of those logistical chores off our plate.
That was smart.
Back in
Because they have catering on site and it's just not
Yeah.
like, it used to stress me out because it's a 50% fall off rate and you just stress out. What if everyone shows up? We're not going to have enough
I
food.
know. Yeah, and our no-show rate typically was about 40 to 50% too. And you would think, why would a university want to do this? Well, if they can get one applicant who signs up for the program at $15,000 to $20,000 a year, that more than covers the cost of catering for 2 or 3 of these events a year.
Back in the Great Recession, when I ran all county jobs, I started doing pink slip parties, and I started doing them at local bars in the area. The first one I did for free. And you're right, the no-show rate was like half. So I started charging. I started like $5, just a simple low-cost entry fee. That boosted the attendance like crazy because people didn't want to lose their money that they paid for. So the simple $5 charge, ensured that I had the right amount of people there, which was nice.
We had a similar experience, Chris, when we first started doing events. They were much more low key 5 or 6 years ago, and they typically would happen at a bar. And by having just a simple admission fee, $5 or $10, you significantly brought down the no-show rate.
It does work, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose that. I wanted to ask you about you both do podcasting, and to me, podcasting is an excellent marketing tool for any business, and job board is included in that. But just talk about what you guys talk about in your podcasts and how helpful it's been in just building community overall. Matt,
Do you want me to go first this time?
Yeah, Keith, go first.
Okay. So yeah, the podcast, we're up to episode 208, I think it is. So it's been about 3 years that we've been doing the podcast. It's a passion project of mine. I consume a lot of content that's similar of the entrepreneurial journey. One of my favorite podcasts is How I Built This, which is an NPR podcast, and that's hosted by Guy Raz. He's like a mentor to me that he doesn't know me, but so the podcast is definitely a marketing and branding tool. It's the only form of content on our site that is non generated in partnership with our customers. So what we create is a 50-minute episode where I interview a founder or a CEO or investor. So with the founders and CEOs, we're talking about their background story, how they got from A to B in their career, starting a company, scaling a company, growing it, to some general advice questions. So it's very much that whole journey of their professional career, and obviously the starting a company. For investors, it's a little bit different. We talk about how they got into venture capital, then we talk about what they look for in terms of their investments and deal flow, and some general advice questions there. But the podcast has been very, very helpful, just for branding purposes. When you have the founder of a publicly traded company or a company that just raised their A round, but it's one of the hot up and coming companies, it's definitely a good thing. So I love doing it.
Awesome. Mac?
I host a weekly show, Find Your Dream Job, and we just celebrated our 5th anniversary last October. We're up to almost 2 million downloads. We'll pass the 2 million figure this month. What we focus on is the nuts and bolts of job hunting. And every week I talk to a different career expert about practical job search skills. We started the show, Chris, because we were planning to launch a set of educational products that we wanted to sell to job seekers. And we did have some success with that for a year or two, but we decided to move away from it and focus on job board sales. Now we've continued the show, but we've pivoted in terms of our guest strategy. We have to fill 52 interview slots a year, and a certain number of them go to either existing clients or business prospects. You have to be a career expert to be on the show. But if we talk to an HR director in Oregon or Washington, they can be just as knowledgeable. Obviously, they're as knowledgeable as somebody in another state, but that can lead to either new business or help us grow an existing account. Not all of our guests are prospects or clients, but about a quarter of them are now. And we've been following that strategy for more than a year. And we have seen that it's benefited our bottom line and helped us with monetization. One of the unintended consequences of the show is it's built a national and even a global audience for our site. We get a significant amount of traffic from outside the Pacific Northwest now, both for the show and the website. And I think in a post-pandemic world, that's actually going to turn out to be an unintended benefit, because as remote work becomes more popular, employers are going to want to reach out to people outside of our region, and having that audience and watching it grow is going to be an asset to the business.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Appreciate that insight. Curious, Mishu, the question not on our list, but I just thought of it. What's the best piece of content you've ever produced? Does one come to mind? Keith, you there?
Well,
Okay.
I'm here.
Sorry.
Every year we do, so we have an ongoing series that's called Lead Her, and it's profiling women in leadership roles in the tech industry. And every year we do a roundup of all the profiles that we compiled throughout the year, and we publish little snippets of each profile, and we publish that, and it just gets a tremendous amount of, eyeballs. One, it's obviously has a lot of value because it's helping promote, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And each one of these stories is really powerful. So I'm proud when that roundup goes out. The extra amount of attention, it's almost like a double down, because it gets views when it gets published, but then it gets a second leg when we do this roundup at the end of the year. So that one, just thinking ongoing, because there's different pieces of content that randomly will spike, and some it all, thing that flop, you kind of experience it all. But that's one that every year we know is going to be get a lot of airtime.
Cool. Awesome. How about you, Mac?
Every month we publish a story of a job seeker who found a position they love. And we've been doing that now for almost 4 years. And it's our readers strongly identify with that. And it also helps with our connections to local communities. But what I especially like about those stories is that these are people who readers can identify with, who are actually practicing all the job search advice that we provide in our articles and books and podcasts. And it's a bit like when readers see that job seekers who are like them are doing this and having success, it just reinforces the message that these skills can be learned, and and you can be successful applying them.
Excellent. By the way, did COVID force either of you to kind of change your business in any permanent way, do you think, coming out of this?
Mac mentions remote hiring. So we had on our roadmap to support hiring for remote employees already because we saw the trend starting to happen. But once March hit of last year, there was, we pushed that full steam ahead, and I'm glad we did. That hiring is national now, and it's a different world. And if you're a company that doesn't have a strategy on how to handle things once we get back to a normal state, remote is almost expected in the tech industry now. So there's going to be, I think, a lot of companies that have a hybrid, but it's that supporting of the remote hiring efforts that was the biggest transformation that we saw over the past year. And grateful to be aligned with the tech industry because we have the most jobs we've ever had on our site. Like, it's every month we hit a new record. And if you told me that last March, I would have told you were crazy.
Yeah. Keith, by the way, your site's custom built, is that correct?
Yeah. Yep. It's custom built, which I think when we chatted once, I'm not sure, I forget, but I have experimented with Jobboard.io. But yeah, we're custom built. I have 2 developers that I work with that are the ones that have built VentureFizz pretty much since the early days. They're their own development firm, so they're not employees of VentureFizz, but they do great work. And
did you have
but
to
yeah,
add
it's
support? Sorry, did you have to add support for the remote type on the job board listing?
Yeah, we had to make some different changes to the site to allow for that. And we're making changes as we speak to allow for that to happen even at a larger volume. So we're going to have a new release of how we import the jobs from applicant tracking systems that is going to overhaul the old way because of how things have changed and how applicant tracking systems are set up. Our backend needs to reflect those changes too. So we're actually fixing a lot of that workflows as we speak, because it's definitely a big change.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So Mac, if you were starting a new niche job board today, what's sort of the first couple of things you might do to gain attention here? Just thinking out of the box. Could be any niche, I don't care what. But what's one of the first one or two things you would start doing from kind of a marketing standpoint, really?
It's very basic, but I can't stress the importance more than just sending out a newsletter, whether it's on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, because when you've got the emails of the people that you want to connect with, you're able to do so much more with that information. But also when you're connecting with people on a regular basis, you're building a relationship that is going to serve you well in the years to come. When I reflect back on my site, I was sharing postings informally through this very labor-intensive email system. Once I turned it into a weekly newsletter, and I did that after a number of years, and I committed to publishing every Tuesday at 2. In the course of 2 years, we went from just about 800 names to 4,000. And it was dramatic growth because people came to expect that newsletter and those new job listings. And the emails that we got by creating that newsletter were the foundation for foundational information that we use to connect with both readers and employers in so many other ways in the years that followed.
Excellent. Keith, same question to you.
Mac stole my thunder. I agree, Mac, 100%. So when I first started VentureFizz, I started an email newsletter. And if you're starting out like, well, what am I going to have in my newsletter? Well, the thing that I did was I just aggregated tech news. There wasn't any of my own original content on VentureFizz at the time. So I would just take local industry articles, and a lot of the venture capitalists were blogging at the time. So I would just pull in links to that content, had jobs listed, had companies featured. So I started to build out a newsletter, and it just, people are viewing it as like industry newsletter versus a job board newsletter. So that's how you start to get a lot of interest from not only job seekers, but people that were passive job seekers or could be a future active job seeker. So that was a good way of just kind of building up awareness, brand, traffic. And like Mac mentioned, you have control over that email list. So even if you're like an e-commerce site that's just starting to sell, cups or something, you want to control your audience. So you can spend on advertising, but they control kind of what's going on there. So the email distribution list is gold because there's a lot you can do with that ongoing, and hopefully it just continues to grow. Second, I would do is go after the biggest names of companies that are hiring that your job seekers would want to work at, and maybe offer them, it could be a free subscription or free jobs or some type of arrangement that they know they're going to be an early adopter. So they're going to have a favorable opportunity. And then when people come to your site, they'll see those names and they'll be like, wait, this is a site I want to spend more time on, and hopefully investigate other jobs. And then when companies come to your site because they hear about you from somebody, they'll see that their competitor or another great brand is posting there. And they'll also want to, it's the fear of missing out. So they'll want to hopefully, be a part of your community as well.
Excellent, guys.
Yeah, let me just quickly second that point about getting the industry leader in of a particular employer. So whatever the sector, once you have that person, even if you're just providing free listings, the people in that space will think, well, what does that employer know? I should be on this site too. We've seen that happen again and again.
Yep. Got a question from the audience. What tool do you guys both use to create your newsletters? What do you prefer?
We use MailChimp.
We started out with Constant Contact, moved to MailChimp, and now we use Keep or Infusionsoft for our database. So we integrate, we use a template from that.
Yeah. By the way, too, I was just thinking that you could even, I think I wrote a post on this, I forget, but you can actually make a job board off a newsletter. As long as the jobs are remote and it doesn't matter where that person is. There's a site I saw a site called Remote PR Jobs. It was advertising on Facebook. And you don't need a job board software to actually build a job board if you don't want to. You could build it through a newsletter, a paid newsletter, using a tool like Substack, which allows you to do paid newsletters and just curate jobs for that audience, particularly if they're kind of harder to fill jobs and there are less of those jobs around. You can curate jobs and build a newsletter off that. So that's a potential way to get started with a job board business without building a job board. In other words,
that's a great point.
So something to keep in mind.
I've seen two newsletters like that over the years, one for Capitol Hill jobs in Washington, D.C. And then my career has been in communications. There's a fellow called Ned who has a Ned Job of the Week, and he sends out a newsletter of PR jobs, and he's been doing it for years.
Yeah, that's how Craigslist started, I think. And there's a site in Colorado called Andrew's Job List, I think, something like that. I think that's how it started as well.
Yeah, Andrew Hudson's PR job list. Yeah.
So good stuff, guys. Any other questions from the audience? They can stick around for a couple more minutes here if you want. Questions from the audience for Mac and Keith. Feel free. Now's your chance. What was I going to say? Do you have Facebook pages for your job? Talk about your social media efforts, guys. Just which one is your best channel, and any tips around some of that stuff?
LinkedIn is our best channel. Twitter secondary. Facebook, we probably don't spend enough time on Facebook. We kind of just have really tripled down on LinkedIn is where we spend most of our time. Twitter, we still get some value. Facebook, not as much. Instagram is pretty much just there because we should be, but LinkedIn's been our tripling down on that these days.
LinkedIn is number one for us as well. That's where the employers and the job seekers are. And Twitter isn't a close second, but it's still valuable. And we are present on Facebook and Instagram, but we're investing a lot more time in LinkedIn because that's where our readers and our customers are.
Yep. Okay. Would you, let's see here. Here's a good question from Grove. I think Grove works for ProBlogger. Do you focus more on employers or applicants for building community? What would you guys say?
Applicants. Like all of our content is generated for the community, for the job seeker, because without them, companies wouldn't, pay for a subscription. So,
Exactly.
yeah. So
The majority.
we probably could be doing our own little. I'm sorry, Mac.
Go ahead. Kate.
We probably could do our own little. We could probably do our own little like subset blog that's talking about more best practices on employment branding and stuff that would gear us some sales. But as of right now, we don't have anything like that.
Yep.
Yeah. For many years, we provided content only for job seekers, but about 3 years ago, we started to provide information for employers as well. And we did that for two reasons. One is because of the employers we serve. Again, I think I mentioned hiring's not a frequent event. So people who are making hiring decisions haven't been trained in how to manage a hiring process. And so we're filling a gap there. And that helps attract traffic to our site from both from the prospects we want to serve. And it also it fits in with our larger mission of making hiring more human, because many hiring managers that we serve are struggling with these things because they haven't been trained in those skills, and we're closing that gap.
Yep. All right. Last question. We'll get you guys out of here. Mac and Keith, certainly appreciate your time today. If you could go back in time, Declan asks, when you first started your job board, what advice would you give yourself? Good question.
I would say like don't hire journalists and be a news site, because that was one thing that I learned a hard lesson from, because it was just I was spending money and time being something we weren't. So just stay true to your mission of why do you exist? And when I went full time into VentureFizz, I looked deeply. I'm like, what am I doing with the site? Why do I exist? What's the value I'm providing to companies, value for job seekers? And I narrowed that funnel down so much. And it only helped as far as more people, more traffic. Like before, I think we had an identity crisis of what is VentureFizz. People had no clue. And so, yeah, it took a little while to steer the cart into the right direction. But once we did, it was a good thing.
Awesome.
You've already touched on this, Chris, but I made the rookie mistake of hiring someone to write the job board software for me. I had a friend whose boyfriend was a developer. He put something together. It worked well for a year or more, but as we grew, it became this kind of Frankenstein. And this was not the fellow's business. He had a day job and he was doing me a favor. And I found myself working with this developer for a couple of years. He was doing his best, but once we moved to a third-party software vendor, our lives got a lot easier and a lot more predictable.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Mac Pritchard and Keith Klein, thank you very much for joining me today. Thanks for dropping some knowledge on us.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Excellent.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. Well, hope you keep watching. And again, thanks again. Let's close these guys out and we'll get rolling here. Prasanthi and Ryan, I'll answer your questions later if I can. I also keep the show moving, but remind me in the Zoom happy hour and I'll knock those out. All right, so let's talk about next topic, content creation hacks. So these next two sessions are me only. I'm going to walk you through how I create content today, and then we'll talk about employer prospecting and tips after that. So let me tell you a story as I share my screen here. 3-4 years ago, let's see here, share screen. 3 or 4 years ago, I had a blog post go viral on me. And, but it's a blog post I didn't really have to create. Okay. Someone actually wrote it for me for free, and I got a ton of clicks out of it. So here's what happened. So I scour the press release sites on a daily basis looking for relevant news for the industry I'm serving. In this case, kind of HR and recruiting related content. And I happened to see this press release put out by a company called Owl Labs, and they do a lot of work in the remote working arena for companies. And they put out a study around remote work and talking about again, this is pre-pandemic, so 2017, I think it was. They put out a study around remote work. Had some really great numbers in there around how many people work from home, how they do it, etc. So anyway, the press release read like a great article, and I said to myself, I can take this press release, since you can basically take any press release and use it as you wish. I took it and I sort of rewrote the headline on it, and I rewrote the opening paragraph, let's say. And I copied and pasted the rest of it into a blog post on my job board. And then I simply shared that blog post to my personal LinkedIn feed. And within an hour, the thing started going viral. I think within the first hour, I had 10,000 views on LinkedIn. People were starting to comment like crazy. What was happening was people from IBM, which had just shut down their work at home program, not too prescient given today's environment we're in, but they're all bitching about how IBM shut down their ability to work from home. And lo and behold, they were commenting on my article that I had, quote unquote, wrote and posted on my site, on my and feed. So anyway, within 24 hours, the thing had like 600,000 views, had hundreds of comments, hundreds of likes. And within that first day, I think I had 10,000 clicks to the actual article on my site. And so that's just a viral story of a piece of content that I basically repurposed, made it my own, and lo and behold, it worked wonders for me, as it happens. So that's not going to happen every time, but that's an example of a content hack, right? Leveraging somebody else's content to make it your own. Now, of course, I gave them credit in the article. I didn't say the stats came from me. It was all, they published this stuff and they got the credit in the blog post. I think I even linked to them as well. But that's a great story of a content hack that potentially can help you go viral overall. So, but let's talk about my content creation section. So I have 6 of them: content creation, repurposing content, Q&A blog posts. I think Keith talked about some of that a bit. Press release content, rewrites, and guest posting. So let's start with content curation first. Now, I do a lot of curating of content these days. The reason being is that people lead extremely busy lives today. And there's a plethora of information for any industry and niche that you serve. Simply Google, Google your niche, and there are 100 different blogs. There's a bunch of news sites that cover this stuff overall. And so there is value in curating that content for readers overall, right? That's how like HuffPost started, right? They were curating other people's blog content on their site. I do that today with site like recruitingheadlines.com, where I'm indexing using RSS feeds, content from blogs, things like that in the industry, displaying a snippet of that post and curating that into a daily email list that's grown to over 1,000 subscribers now. And I then use that email list to provide, like I can use it for advertising purposes. I sell access to it sometimes. And I use it for drive awareness to my events and lists and things like that. And so content curation like that is a very valuable service for the busy recruiter or the busy executive out there around whatever niche you serve. Pick your niche. And if you go into content curation and help them find these posts every week. LinkedIn does. You may have seen on LinkedIn where they have like the 10 best recruiting articles of the week. something like that. I always see on the right-hand side there. They're curating content, and there's value in that. You can create a blog post from simply curating 5 articles and just synopsizing or summarizing the gist of the article and linking off to that article. All right, there is value in that from a content perspective. It may not be great for SEO, but it's great for eyeballs, for people clicking and coming to your site, for using it on social media, and pushing it out there. And it doesn't take any writing. It just simply it requires research and time. So you put it together overall. So that's content creation hack number 1. Something anybody can do. Doesn't take a lot of skill. Just find the news sources that are valuable in your space, and curate that onto a blog post or a newsletter, and things like that. I do on RegTech Media, do a monthly industry newsletter, and I do a section on what I'm reading and writing, and I go out there and I just link out to content that I post, and that's part of the newsletter itself overall, right? So I'm using other people's content for my benefit, but giving them the credit with the link. So that's number 1. Let's talk about repurposing content, and how to do that. So here's an example. I use a service called rev.com, which helps to transcribe podcasts and videos. It's like $1.25 a minute. So I happened to listen to this podcast. It was a recruiting podcast, and the host was interviewing these talent acquisition folks, and there was a series of questions that came around. It was probably like 10 minutes long, and as I listened to it, it kind of read to me like a blog post almost. As I was listening to it, the host asked a question, the guest gave an answer. The host asked a question, the guest gave an answer. So I transcribed that podcast, and I made a blog post out of it. I gave, of course, credit to the podcast that I was on. I quoted from it. So essentially, when I got the transcription back from rev.com, it was probably, they did the whole podcast. It was, 10 pages long, probably. I went in there, I got the parts I wanted, and I quoted those people. I just said something like, XYZ talent acquisition manager said this on the recent podcast episode of, I forget which show it was, but and I just quoted them from the podcast themselves. And their quote was a paragraph long, and it helped me really write that blog post for the topic I was around. I think I wrote the opening paragraph, the closing paragraph, and basically everything in between was just the Q&A from that podcast that they did. Probably like 3 questions and 3 answers. And so that's an example of repurposing content. You can do the same with your own podcasts and videos as well. Transcribe it, make it into a blog post. So what I'll do is on Libsyn, I use Libsyn for my podcasting. I will summarize the show on the Libsyn description, but on my blog, I will do the transcription and post the entire transcription on my blog for the SEO, for SEO purposes, essentially. And the transcription writes itself, or somebody else writes it for you. You pay, a 30-minute podcast will cost you about $40 in transcription costs. So that's, it's $40 per an article, essentially, is what you're looking at there. And so that's content hack number 2. Very simple. You don't have to do a lot of writing. The transcriber does it for you. You simply cut and paste at that point. Q&A blog post. So I do this today on hrlancers.com, where any featured HR Lancer that comes onto the platform that pays $7 a month to get featured, in addition to being featured in the profile section, whatever, we offer the chance to do a Q&A blog post with them, where we send them 7 questions about who they are, what they do, have them reply back, and that essentially that email back is the blog post. It's a word for word. We do edit it a little bit in case they have any spellings, but it's a word for word, cut and paste type of blog post. All I had to do was come up with the questions. They did all the writing. So I made them work for me, essentially, when I'm doing something like a Q&A blog post. You can do that with job seekers. You can do it with employers. It works for either audience. And it's an excellent way to essentially get free content, get quick content, to do it effectively and efficiently. It doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes them time to, when they send it back, there you go. Cut and paste, create an image for it, post it, boom, it's out. It's an excellent way to fill your content pipeline, if you will, through a Q&A blog post. Number 4, also on that Q&A one too, when you can tag them on social media as well, which also helps, right? So I go on LinkedIn and I say, hey, check out this featured article around XYZ person who just joined HR Lancers as the platform. See what she does, or he does. It's an excellent way to call them out on social media as well. Gets more attention, gets more eyeballs, gets more clicks to your website overall. So featuring a person or a company in the space you serve really helps to bring attention to that piece of content. I tag companies all the time on a lot of my on my HR Tech Feed site. When we're pushing out new content, I'll just go into I automate posting into it on LinkedIn, for example. I'll go and I'll just edit that posting on LinkedIn, and I'll just retag the company on there if it happens to mention the company name in the article, for instance, or on the headline. And that really helps to get more likes. It'll lead to clicks as well eventually overall. Let's talk about press releases. So again, I told you that story at top of the half hour there. But PR Newswire, Business Wire, PR Web. I check them every day for content around my industry in the recruiting and HR space. I have a site called jobstories.com where I feature stories about companies who have announced hiring plans. I get most of that content off press releases because there are companies out there that announce that they're hiring for a certain location, 100 jobs here, 100 jobs there, or they're doing a virtual job fair maybe. And I take that content, I rewrite a little bit of it up front, but I just pretty much post it and push it to social media, tag the company, drive traffic back to the site, and so on and so forth. Rinse and repeat, right? Excellent way to do that through your press release content. But look at your press release wires out there. Just do keyword searches around your niche, whatever your niche is, and you'll find content out there you can reuse on your own blog. Even if it's just quoting them as a source. There's a lot of surveys and data studies out there on press release wires that I get a ton of content off of. And it's really valuable content. I did a post on HR Lancers, for example. There's been a slew of studies around freelancing and gig work. It's been covered by multiple vendors out there, ADP, payroll companies, etc. I put together a list of 16 stats for the freelancing market you need to know. And I simply quoted from all these different these surveys I found online. Some of them were in blog posts, some were in press releases, but I think you catch my drift here. There is a ton of great content out there if you know where to look. Not all of it is great content, but another thing I do is companies in the HR tech space will announce executive changes. So instead of reposting those, I basically take a bunch of them. I'll take 4 or 5 and create a HR tech executive on the move blog post, where I simply just cut and paste a paragraph out of that press release, and then create a curated blog post around 5 companies with executive changes, post that as a single blog post, and then tag those companies on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter, and drive traffic to it overall, right? So HR tech's on the move, or insert your industry, techs on the or execs on the move, people moves, things like that, right? Popular piece of content. A lot of news sites do that kind of stuff, but easy content for you to get and create overall. You don't have to be a great writer necessarily. You just have to know how to curate and adapt, and do a little rewriting of your own as well. So you don't have to be a prolific writer, and these hacks can help do that. Let's see here. Great stuff, Chris. Okay, thanks, Joe. I'm just reading some of the comments here on another machine. Let me pull this up here so I can read more of these because I can't see it on my main one. YouTube is great, Keith says, but it takes a while to build an audience, time and patience. Yep, I would say so as well. What's Otter.ai? Anyway, all right, let's move on to rewrites as we get closer to 3 o'clock here. Rewrites. So I do this more for SEO purposes than I do for anything else, but if I'm stuck with a subject that I have some writer's block on, I Google that subject. Chances are someone's already written about it because let's face it, content is everywhere today. But I will rewrite content if I need to, if I'm stuck, right? Or I've got a client now I'm working with some SEO on, and we're trying to get them to rank better for SEO. And so I'm doing a rewriting campaign around some hot topics that they're interested in. And we found a competitor that's done a lot of work in SEO already. And so I'm mimicking kind of what they're writing overall. I'm not copying word for word, but I'm giving a writer a project where I say, hey, take these 2 articles, rewrite them and combine them into one with, let's say there was 14 things that they talked about in these 2 posts. I'll have them combine it down to 10 maybe and rewrite it into a new piece of content. Then I'll take it, I'll edit it myself, add my 2 cents, and then use it as a blog post or a page of content for that company. So rewriting takes a little effort, but again, it really helps if you have writer's block or if you're really going after some SEO content. Look at what others have done, see which ranks, 1, 2, 3 on Google. And generally speaking, you kind of want to follow what they do from a content perspective overall. So that's rewrites. And number 6, guest posting. Ask your users if they want to write for you. You can pay them if you want to. You can try and get it for free. I've done both. You probably have more success with paying them. But get your users to write for you, particularly if they're an expert in their, your industry that you're trying to serve, through your site. But guest posting is an excellent way of having others write for you, and essentially guest posting on other sites for yourself as well, getting backlinks. Great SEO tactic. I've done it a million times around sites that I've run and own and clients. But going out and writing about your industry on other sites is an excellent way of getting that SEO value and domain expertise coming back to you. So those are my content creation hacks. Hope you like that. What questions do you have around creating content? Feel free to share those with me now in the chat there. Ryan asks, should we produce content for YouTube or SEO? For SEO, should we put YouTube? Okay, so our YouTube channel is great. It does help with video content, right? So, if you talk about how to create a job posting in the tech industry, right? That might be a video you create. And if you describe it that way in the title of the YouTube video and in the description, that may come up in a Google search because they are showing more videos now and content. But a YouTube channel is a long time horizon thing. I think mine on Job Board Secrets has maybe 1,000 people on it. I started one recently, maybe 2 years ago for RegTech Media that has like 200. So that one's taking a lot longer to create. But it does help. It's helpful for SEO. I've gotten a lot of messages recently from my Job Board Secrets readers that they found me on YouTube because I'm really the only one talking about building job boards on YouTube. So I have a unique content strategy there. And so the more unique you are with your content, the more you're going to show up on the Google search overall. But the how-to videos, that kind of stuff is always helpful. Again, it takes time. Video is the most time-consuming piece of content you'll ever do, unless it's just kind of a quick TikTok style selfie video. But generally speaking, it takes a lot of work. Editing sucks in terms of video. I hate editing video. I'd much rather edit a piece of audio overall. But video depend. It really depends on the niche too. I think you're in. So what's your niche, Ryan? Talk about that a bit, and maybe I can mention something specific there. But if you're in an industry where the audience doesn't care that much about video, who knows? I mean, I think job seekers appreciate it more overall. But there's a quick thing on video there. Any other questions on content? Oh, there's some questions there in the looks like the chat maybe. Okay, for content creation, are you mainly using RSS feeds and putting it on your blog? Yes, it's WordPress based. I use a plugin called, I think it's WPRSS, if I'm not mistaken. It's $59 a year, and it's an awesome plugin. And it's in use today on recruitingheadlines.com, hrtechfeed.com, if you want to check those out. Chris, what would you recommend? Some sources to get statistics related to job ads, job descriptions, and job boards. Or is there's no real main source of stats on a lot of this stuff. Again, a lot of the vendors have it. In the space, publish their own data sets. Go check out HR Tech Feed. I do republish some studies there and stuff. Like Appcast just came out with a recruitment marketing benchmark. They talk about the average CPC prices they're seeing, what industries have higher CPCs. That comes out every year. I just did a podcast with their CEO. That'll be out in a couple of weeks. So a lot of the vendors come up with their own content and data around this stuff. Take that for what you will. It may not be entirely true, but look at the different vendors in the space because they tend to publish their own data sets around what they do. At least if they're a good vendor, they do. So there's that. Minimum length you shoot for when publishing content from our buddy Joel Cheeseman there. At least 800 words in terms of a blog post is kind of my baseline. Joel, page-wise, it can be shorter. I've seen pages with less content rank for stuff. It just depends on what it is. But the bigger the better as far as blog content goes. My minimum is kind of 800. Sometimes I can get away with 700, but that's kind of a baseline overall. What podcasting software do I use? I use Libsyn as the host, and I just basically record. You can record it over Zoom and get the audio off of there. I use Uber Conference just to have a quick phone number they can call into and record the audio. And then I use on my PC, I'll use, what's the software called? Drawing a blank here. I have a piece of software that edits it called, crap, I forgot. So I'll tell you later if I remember. Audacity, it's it. Audacity is the PC software you can use to edit your audio out there. You can also use GarageBand too if you're on a Mac. All right, I think that answers the questions there in the box. Max says the Squadcast FM to record podcast interviews, Libsyn to host, and Podfly to edit. Okay, never heard of Podfly.com. That's interesting. Keith uses Zoom for recording the podcast, GarageBand for editing, and SoundCloud for hosting. Very good. Okay. Brian, WPRSS. It's $59 a year, and excellent tool for creating kind of a news resource, which I did. It's worked pretty well from an SEO standpoint as well. So even though a lot of those sites are kind of duplicate content, most of my traffic there is SEO based. So it's nice. I did see a little dip this year, but Um, I'm told too that Google's coming out with an algorithm update in May. I heard from an SEO guy. So not sure how it's going to affect all y'all, but keep an eye out for that as well. Also, I'll mention too that in terms of content, if you're a new job board, you should be cranking out content, people. At least 2 posts a week. Use that content to recirculate to your social media so you get traffic back to it. But content is one of the only free ways you can generate noise for yourself and traffic. So do a lot of it, and it'll pay off in the long run overall. All right, we're going to move on to employer prospecting. And then hopefully we'll get Ethan Bloomfield on the line and talk about sales strategy. I talked to Ethan yesterday. He was traveling. He hadn't registered yet. And I'm hopeful that he's going to show here because he was traveling to Buffalo, New York when I called him in his car. Let me go back to my list here. But we'll deal with that at 3:30. He's here. Okay, excellent. All right. Good job, Ethan. All right. Let's see here. Let's talk about employer prospecting, guys. So if you're a client of mine, I may have taught some of this to you already. And I'm going to show you how to get to find leads today for employers. And we're going to do it basically through Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter using a plugin. And there's also a online tool there as well, which I'll show you. But let me click over to LinkedIn here. I've got LinkedIn queued up. And hopefully you can see this. Let me just expand that a bit. All right, can you all see my LinkedIn page here? Just somebody mentioned in the chat there so I can double check. Yes, I see it. Okay. All right, so here is the best way, in my opinion, to find hot leads of employers who are hiring. And again, apologies if you've seen this already, but I know I have a lot of new viewers on the show here. So, so I have a tool on my Chrome here called Email Extractor, and it is by far one of the best tools I've ever found when it comes to prospecting. It is a free tool, free plugin. You can pay $10 a month to get a few upgraded features, like it'll save more of the emails that it finds and save them all for you. But you don't really need the free version is fine. If you notice on my plugin here in the upper left, it shows 2 emails. And it's picking up those emails from the LinkedIn page that I'm visiting right here. Okay. So what this plugin does is for any web page you visit, if there's an email address on that web page, it's going to show here. And I can then copy those and export them to a text file or a CSV file. And so this is great for a site like LinkedIn, for social media in general, really, to go out and find emails of companies who are hiring. How do you do that? Well, here's how. So I'm going to go over to the search box of LinkedIn. I'm using the new version of LinkedIn. Yours may have the old version if you're not on the new version yet. So I'm going to do a search. Here's one example right here. I was just doing this with a client last week. In this search box, in quotes, dental assistant and, which is a Boolean search operator, and the phrase send resume. Okay. So you take a job title, put it in quotes, and send resume. That is the entire phrase you're looking at. Make sure you do it correctly. Quotes and. I'm going to click on the post filter. Thanks for that link there, guys. I'm going to click on the post filter, and I'm going to see I got 265 posts. I'm going to actually sort this by dates in the past week. Show results. I got 19. Okay, so these are posts in the last week from mainly employers or recruiters who are hiring dental assistants who listed their email address. And as I scroll through this post, The plugin in the upper right collects those emails, and it will display them for me. So it's found 3. Okay. The old version of LinkedIn used to maybe scroll continuously, and it was nicer actually for this, but you'll get the idea here. So if you look at these posts on LinkedIn, you can see here they listed their email address, right? And so these are the hottest posts you can find for dental assistants on LinkedIn right now. Take these emails, email these people. You can also comment on the post themselves, maybe a coupon code or something like that. But this is a strategy used to collect emails of people who are hiring right now or within the last week for your niche, whatever that niche is, whatever that job title is. Okay. And you collect those emails in the tool itself. Let's do it for a different one. Let's do it for, I don't know, let's try marketing manager. Let's see what we get. I might change up, instead of send resume, I might say email resume. That's another phrase you can use. You're looking for posts that contain that job title and the words send resume or email resume or send me a resume. Okay, we got 81 results in the past week. I can sort them myself with that, but I'm going to scroll through these and it'll collect the emails in the upper right. It's only got 2 in this case, but you keep going through these. The plugin will change. Actually, it's got 4 now, so now there's 4 up there. I'm going to keep scrolling. Here's some more down here. So if you change pages with the free version, you're going to lose the ones you had, I think. But if you get the paid version, it collects everything. You never have to worry about which page you're on. So just keep scrolling through all these. And at the end, you'll have a nice long list of emails. Okay. Chris, in your experience, how accurate? These are accurate emails, guys. These are companies hiring right now versus a job board, maybe where, the posting is 30 days old, right? But these are fresh, which is the point here I'm trying to make, especially when I did the past week on the filter set. They're hiring right now. These are very good emails. And they're going to really help you boost your employer prospecting overall, right? So you can email these people and you can also comment on their post. So it's a twofold prospecting measure here you're looking at. So when I say commenting, leave them a quick message. Hey, by the way, you may want to repost this on my site. It's free, or here's a discount code for X site, right? Or give them something of value and leave a comment there. And if you do this regularly every day, it's an excellent prospecting tool that will get you fresh leads for whatever job title you want overall. The one thing that's harder to filter out is sort of like, countries. So, if the person is in India, you're going to pick these up. So you got to look at who's posting them, of course. But, this guy here probably is it's probably overseas, I would think. You can kind of tell if they're US or not. You could try adding some keywords in here in terms of location as well. See if that works. So play with that phrasing overall. This works on Twitter as well. It works on Facebook, particularly in Facebook groups. So if you go into, I'm not going to go here into it now, but if you go into a Facebook group on this tool, and you like a local job search group on Facebook, recruiters are posting their stuff all the time on there. And if you scroll through that long list of Facebook posts on a group, the tool will pick up those emails as well and list them for you in the upper right. You then export them or copy them into whatever CRM you have or whatever email program you have and send out that email. All right. Fresh prospecting at your fingertips. with a tool like this. Let me see if we can try it on Twitter here. Follow me at Chris Russell if you want to while we're here. Twitter's thinking. Give me a second. Someone put a Boolean string. Angela did in the chat there. Thanks for that, Angela. That's excellent. Okay, here. So let's try this. So I'm going to do quotes, marketing manager. I'm not sure if if Booleans work on. I think they do work on Twitter. So and email resume. Let's see what we get. I'm going to click on latest. Here we go. IT manager, or here's a marketing. Email resume. There you go there. Here's another one here. Another one here, Lauren at realtyjobs.com. Another one here. You can see here my plugin is growing. It's not 4 emails. It looks like as I scroll, it's changing. So I'd probably say get the paid version of Email Extractor because it's not collecting them all on the same page. As I scroll and change the page look, it looks like it's changing the emails up there. It used to be where it worked. It just collected them all at once as you scrolled. I'm not sure if that's a new tweak they made to the product, but the $10 a month one is worth every penny in my opinion. These are all the same email, actually. That could be why. So play around with that and try it on Facebook groups. Works especially well. You can probably even do it on posts if you just do a search on there. But this is how you get fresh leads from companies who are hiring in the last 24 hours a week around that. So latest is all by time. And yeah, Ethan says these tools can be very accurate for biz email addresses because most of us use the correct email for LinkedIn. Exactly right. So if they're posting on LinkedIn, that's my kind of go-to source for these emails because people are posting all kinds of stuff to their personal feeds. Now, that's what this is here. This is not job listings. This is personal feed stuff. And a lot of time recruiters are willing to share their emails. So if they're willing to share, they're public domain for you guys. So there you go. All right. Let me just accept this guy here. Okay. Let's see here. So that does it for the Chrome plugin. Let me close out Chrome. Let's talk about online email extractor. I'm going to copy this link here. So this is a tool, kind of works similar to that plugin, but a little bit differently. So this is the web page. And on this web page, you can tell it to go to a website or a Google search, actually. It'll crawl that website and it'll look for any emails it can find. Now, this one's a little more hit and miss, but the way I would use it would be to point it to a job board competitor, for example, and let it crawl that job board. And it'll pick up any emails it finds and put them into a CSV file. It'll then email you that CSV file when it's done. So it's kind of automatic prospecting, if you will. Now, here's the problem. The problem is that many link job boards now don't show emails on job descriptions. Some still do. Many don't. On a site like Indeed or ZipRecruiter, it's maybe like 5% of the jobs on there might have an email address listed. It's pretty small. So it will work on LinkedIn on the bigger sites if you kind of point it to a general page and let it do its thing. But but I would use it mainly for like niche sites or sites that are your competitors that might have emails listed. It's going to pick up emails no matter what they are. So you're going to get the emails for the site itself in the list. If there's like publicly resumes on there, it's going to pick up emails on there. So it's up to you to filter that list once you get it. But this is a free tool. You can charge, I think it's also $10 as well a month. And you just basically insert your URL down here, and it'll spit you back a list. So I would basically go out to a job board here. Let me trying to think of a job board here to go to. I don't know. Let's try hospital careers. And I would take this URL. No idea if there are going to be any emails on this site, but let's try it. Paste it in here, and I'll say, okay, site only, site URLs, and it'll stop after 50 emails it finds. So it's going to extract those. Actually, I gotta force me to log in first. Oh, I'm not registered on my Safari here, but yeah. So that's all you got to do is site URL only, site only. Cut and paste the URL of the site, and in 15, 20 minutes, half hour, it'll send you a list from that site. Works great in like a directory type of a website as well. If there's like a directory for your industry maybe that's out there, or like a chamber of commerce maybe, for local stuff, you can try it on a lot of different sites. Your results will vary, but it may be useful, may or may not be useful for you. I wanted to throw it out there as a tool I've used in the past to find emails like this. And so that is onlineemailextractor.com for extracting emails from job boards or other sites you want to try. If you happen to know Boolean searches like Angelo here does in the chat, you can try those as well. You can actually search for emails on Google. Like if you typed in like the phrase email resume, let me see here. You can actually try this. Email resume 2, like that phrase on Google. Check this out. A lot of times you'll find companies. Yeah, here's one here. Like, so if you wanted to email whatever NHCLV org is, there's the address for resumes. So if you're looking for like companies specifically, you can look at something like this, doing a search like this. As you scroll through, here's another one here. Whatever Buckrail Jobs is. Here's one for a staffing firm. Here's one here. You might find here's one OK.gov. From Express Pros, right? Or if you do send resume to. Let's try like send resume to, and I don't know, marketing. Trying to find more specific emails for a title, maybe. Anyway, I'm not a huge Boolean expert, but I know a little bit of Boolean to be dangerous. Angela, how would you do a search like this on Google for a resume? Could that search also work on Google? That Boolean string you put in there? Let me know in the chat. The other thing I'll mention about prospecting is buying lists. So I don't normally buy lists, but I have bought lists off this company before. I bought a list of 25,000 HR executives. or talent acquisition executives. And actually, the list was pretty good. I think I paid $1,000 for it. It was the list was quality was very good. I think I had a good 80%. I checked it on NeverBounce, which is an email cleaning service, and the list was I did a sample of the list, and it came back like 85% of them were good emails, and they guarantee 95% of email accuracy actually. And I think they can they can make a list for you for whatever you want essentially, and they have kind of prepackaged lists as well. So buying lists from like an event are useful as well if you can get those. For instance, I'm giving the list of attendees today to Top Resume as the feature sponsor today. So event lists are pretty good as well, but be wary who you buy them from. I've seen a lot of like SHRM conference emails going around, and I don't know where they're getting this data from, but a list builder like this is something I've used. So leadcandy.io. Check them out. It's not the cheapest thing to get, but I have one client who used a list from government. So if there's any kind of like certifications going on in your industry that a government agency does, generally speaking, a lot of those lists are available through public information. Whether it's like nursing, for example, I think the list of nurses are published every year, if I'm not mistaken. They may or may not have emails with them, but I have one client who found a list like that, and it really helped to jumpstart their job board. Can't tell you what the niche was, but look for a list like that from any kind of agencies, official agencies that may give away that data or sell it overall. So Angelo says that string works for Google, but you don't need the end anymore. Okay, excellent. I'll have to try it and see how it does. I know like the careers at email, a lot of employers use that, or jobs at whatever domain.com is a very commonly used employer-based email that they'll have. And so look for those emails as well online. Careers at, jobs at. I think if you put the wildcard operator, jobs at wildcard operator on a Google, that might show up. And so keep that in mind as well overall. But that's what I got on prospecting for you all. Ryan says market assistant and New York and based. Okay. Yep. So if you try and learn some Boolean searches, Boolean tactics that'll help you search for employers online on Google, for instance. And look for those emails as well. Careers at, jobs at, resumes at, or some of the common phrasing the employers use to find their to accept resumes from candidates just out of the blue. All right, we are at 3:25. My voice is getting hoarse. And Ethan, are you ready? Let's bring you on early, 5 minutes early if you're ready. Let me just close out here and get ready to bring you on. Close my screen share. All right, here I can close out that one. And let me see here. Any questions I haven't done yet? No, did all those? Okay. All right, Ethan, let me get you on the board here. Here comes the invite. He's accepted and connecting. There he is.
Hey,
Can't believe it.
I wasn't going to stand you up, brother.
Good to see you, my man.
I'm here. It's been a hectic week. I apologize.
It's good to see you, first of all.
You too. It's been way too long. I know. Seriously.
Ethan and I go way back to, I think it was 2006, something like that. He was my contact at Job Target, and I would bitch at him all the time, saying, "Why isn't my job board fast enough?"
That wasn't all you said. Conversely, I made it my business to find guys like, hey, what's up, Todd? Like Chris and Joel at all of the ERE conferences. And I told them I actually knew what I was doing. And at that time, I had no idea what I was doing. But somehow they believed me and accepted me into their little clique for a little while. So here we are 20 years later or something. I mean,
when he's clean shaven, audience, he looks like Pitbull too. So he's got
skinnier
Pitbull. Awesome. Well, let me introduce you.
COVID has done wonders for my cooking skills.
Yes. Ethan now lives in Costa Rica mainly, but he's in the U.S. today. So he retired down there.
Yeah, not quite retired, but
anyway. So for the audience, Ethan,
I agree with Joey Stubbs. It is an AARP of the job boards.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure.
We're gonna die on one of these Zooms eventually. So
we're gonna need Art Koff to jump in if he's not here.
Very good. Awesome. Well, for the audience, Ethan Bloomfield is the Chief Revenue Officer for TruckersReport.com. It's the largest online community of truck drivers whose members are often interested in learning about new opportunities, it says. As the CRO, he is growing a team from its successful roots and humble beginnings to a world-class sales and marketing org focused on one thing, delivering their clients high-quality hires. Sorry, I got that out. Previously, he was a growth hacking consultant for his own company called Vital Few. And he's also held sales leadership roles at ZipRecruiter and JobTarget, as I mentioned. So we'll talk about all that today. And Ethan, welcome to JobBoardCon.
Thanks. And hey, all old friends and new. I see a bunch of names I know real well and a bunch I haven't met. So nice to meet you.
Excellent. All right, so let's start where you are now at Truckers Report. I heard you on Joel's show last year talking about how you have gone now from three employees to about 30 plus now, maybe 40. But talk about that journey. Walk us through that a bit. Also, before you got there, did they even have job listings at that point?
Yeah. Just means he couldn't hold a job, Peter. Can we close the chat because they're going to distract the hell out of me?
Chat is a free for all. Sorry.
Yeah. The journey is a good one. And Chris, do me a favor. If I start going on too long, slow me down, okay, or get me to stop. I was consulting from 2015 when I left ZipRecruiter, which we'll talk about a bit later, and actually, Sam, who's the owner of Truckers Report, was my very first consulting client, and he stayed with me during the entire journey. A couple of years back, we decided not to retire, but we decided that the only way I could actually afford to live on the Pacific Ocean was to not be in California, right? So Costa Rica was perfect for us. We bought a nice little house there and have been back and forth, but mostly there for the last couple of years, almost 3 now. And of course, this is actually my first time in the U.S. in over a year. They extended our tourist visa. So as an illegal immigrant, I was allowed to stay for over a year. And this is our first trip back. But shortly after I got there, Sam had been beginning to hear from some private equity and people who would be interested in the company. He said, if we've gotten some interest with like 3 employees and a consultant, what if we really throw something at this? And he had just been a pure profit machine for the first 4 or 5 years. So he asked me if I could help find him a leader, growth hackers, sales leader. And I spent the weekend going through my Rolodex. Which one of you on the call am I going to call? And I really thought about the lightning in the bottle. And I called and asked Sam, I said, if you were loosely implying that maybe you wanted to talk to me about this. And as I've thought about people who would do this job well, I've kind of come to one conclusion, and not because I'm stroking my own ego, but because I had the interest and the passion for what he had built, which was extraordinary to me within the niche. For those of you who don't know, driver recruiting, I think, replaced the back end monetization that we used to get from EDU, from resume services, from all kinds of other advertising. The arbitrage that we talk about a lot, other than Uber and Lyft, which isn't happening as much right now, I presume, but driver recruiting is an amazing segment. It reverses recruiting entirely. There's no screening, right? If you're a driver who doesn't have, who has a CDLA and doesn't have any at-fault accidents in the last 3 years, you get to pick where you work. It's not the other way around. So the company's the buyer, the driver's the seller. So that to me is really interesting. And there's a really big shortage of drivers. And COVID has made it even bigger because the DMVs were closed for the first half of the year. So we have an additional shortage of something like 200,000 new CDLAs that were not given out this year. So if you compare the time period, you would have seen like 200,000 more. And so the lightning in the bottle, and the reason I joined was the company didn't start as a job site, right? They started as a bitching forum, right? Complaining about the company I work for, complaining about the horrendousness of the type of work it is, but nonetheless a community. And of course, what they had realized early on, or Sam realized early on, 14 and 15, was they were talking about their jobs. So why don't we introduce them? He showed up at one of Weddle's conferences and he started picking my brain about backfill and email marketing and so on and so forth. So I joined the company full-time about 2 years ago, started bringing in some pretty big talent. We brought in Mandy Chanel, who had worked with me at ZipRecruiter and run customer success, and prior to that had been with Top USA and that family. I brought in, so she leads our customer success team. I brought in Dave May to help me lead the sales organization. And he came out of Talroo, which was formerly Jobs to Careers. And then I have a whole nother side of the business, which is candidate engagement. And we'll talk probably for a few minutes about that as well. So it has been a journey. I've been with the company in one form or another for about 5 years, about 2 years in this leadership role. And, even through last year, we clocked extraordinary growth. We kind of never miss the bare minimum 50% year over year growth. So that was even consistent last year.
Nice. So I'm assuming it's a 7-figure company at this point, right?
Mm.
Excellent.
Yes. Maybe one more than that.
Talk to me about your product set. So how do you, I know you have a call center you started there. I want to hear about that. But talk to me about what you sell to employers.
So there's 3 things. We started off in trucking because the candidate is the buyer, right? The candidate makes the decision of where they work. We started with what's known in the trucking world or driver recruiting world as a multi-carrier lead. What this is or amounts to is a multi-tenant lead gen business. And think about lendingtree.com. You go to LendingTree, you put in your information, and all those guys that show up are paying LendingTree to get an introduction to you, right? And you might match a couple based on your credit and your location, or you might match 100. And that's the same with us. Although we have some caps in there, and we think a lot about quality. The other reason that has been such a successful model for us, even though it doesn't sound like traditional recruiting, is it does put the power into the driver's hands. It's what the driver wants. So when we're able to acquire drivers, not just from our own site, but from, the stalwarts, Google, Facebook, and everywhere else, the message we're delivering about, hey, let us just match you to all the right companies, not apply to just one. We actually have a unique message in our media for acquiring those drivers. So everything in our business and in our database started with a multi-carrier or multi-tenant lead. So that is product number 1. It has been with us since the beginning. We are now moving that into from just the traditional kind of spray methodology, still with capping, but we're now adding the opportunity to get a little bit more matching, continuously working on quality. I do find, as I'm sure all of you, whenever I start working on quality, I hear from the clients, but what about quantity? And then I work on quantity and they say, but what about quality? So I'm always on this balancing act, right? So the multi-carrier lead has been really important to the evolution of the business. We do have a job board section of our website, and it does okay. We don't sell postings. We never
Yeah.
have.
Okay.
We've always been in a CPA model. So our multi-tenant leads are very low cost, $3-4 range. Our job board leads are 10 times that, like $30 range. And that has been the traditional model. Two things changed when I joined the company significantly. Number one is as the shortage of drivers grew, particularly last year, but even before that, we realized that we would have to do more passive driver recruiting. And we did two key things that really enabled us to be successful with what we'll call passive. Number one is, over all those years, we had collected this pretty significant database, about 300,000-400,000 drivers that came in through our multi-carrier that had opted in to hear from us and were sitting in our database. The second thing we did is we built an app totally unrelated to recruiting. And you're going to hear this throughout every question you ask me. How do I build a business today? It's going to be about things that have nothing to do with recruiting, right? So we realized there was an app opportunity in turn-by-turn navigation or GPS specifically for truck drivers. It's called route planning. It's not just things that you would think of, knowing where a way station is or lower price diesel, but it's literally Waze, because they care about the billions, not the millions, will put you on a road that a 18-wheeler cannot go down. So we built this app, but we didn't build this app to monetize GPS like Waze does. We monetize by saying, hey, by the way, you looking for a job, right? 70% opt in and then go into our database. So we get a massive acceleration.
So it's like a lead gen tool for you guys?
It is. It's a user acquisition.
Yep.
As discussion and forums have moved to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and everything else, it's really hard to have a standalone community. And I think you know this from everything you've been building over the last 20 plus years. Community is hard to build now, right? I mean, you're better off in a sense building a Facebook group that gets a lot of followers than building a discussion and forum that somebody has to go to, like folks like Joel were successful in getting with his blog and so on and so forth in the past. The second thing we did, and this is the last product, multi-carrier, the job board, using these this massive database that we have of drivers who we know a little bit about, and in some cases a lot about, is we enabled traditional email. Hey, do you want jobs? Alerts. SMS, they were all opt-in. Hey, would you like to learn about jobs? And I'll tell you some creative things we did there that I suggest everybody does. And then third, and most successfully, is I built a call center. And the quality and quantity that I'm able to yield out of that cold call is above everything else I've ever seen. And a lot of the message I would give to any job board operators now is we don't have to be new and cool. Sometimes it's just look at things that always have worked or that nobody else is doing. And I think that has been the secret to every success story in our industry. It's not been new tech, guys. It's not been crazy wild thinking. It's doing something that nobody else is doing or doing it way better than everybody else. And that's the story that you'll hear me talk about if you ask about Indeed or Zip or anybody else. They didn't change technology necessarily. I mean, there's a lot they did. But point being here, 3 products, and some of them are saying, wait a minute, forget about fighting with my own clients, with all of my competitors for the eyes and time online of my audience. Just get on the phone with them, email, engage with them. Apply the same techniques I've used in the sales organizations I've built to candidate engagement. My call centers, so you said 30, 35. We're like 35 full-time W-2 employees. We're like 70 contractors in the call center generating about 100,000 telephone calls a week, and generating, 10 to 15,000 applications.
So they're calling employers and truckers, or just truckers, or
Just drivers. I totally disparate for my sales team.
okay. 100,000 calls a month,
A
week to truckers. How many truckers are you calling? 400,000 a month? Are you calling the same trucker once?
No. You're just like we'll talk about in sales when we talk about the sales stack or tech question. I'm running a cadence. I'll run them no more than 3 times in a day, no more than 2 times in a week. Rest them, re-engage them, and we watch all the data about when to never call them again. And they'll tell us, I never want to hear from you again. Great thing about drivers, like some of your sites, they change jobs a lot. It's a lot like a gig employee. It's a lot like an hourly employee. It's a lot like a nurse these days. They change jobs a lot. So just because I spoke to him this week doesn't mean I can't.
Yeah, that's good for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, real good. So those are the 3 products to summarize it: multi-carrier, multi-tenant leads, job board leads, and leads that we generate from the call center. Although to our clients, there's no difference between our job board, we call those direct, and our SMS generated and our email generated and our call center generated. Those are all in the exclusive bucket of leads.
How fast is the SMS stuff growing for you?
SMS is an interesting machine. I'm going to tell you some secrets about what we did different than a lot of people. We obviously had the entire candidate record, so we didn't send links. A lot of people I see send a link. Click here to apply. Go to my employer. We said, do you want to apply for this job? Yes or no? They say yes. I send it. I'm integrated into the ATS. They say yes. So 3-letter response or a 2-letter response to not send it. That was key to the success of our SMS. SMS, however, is challenging. I spend more time and energy thinking about my call center than SMS for a number of reasons. First is SMSing will deplete your database further, faster, right? I get through the 300,000 people to a point where I'm no longer comfortable messaging them, or I'm no longer comfortable with the guy who said yes for the 118th time. That's not a good lead anymore. So we put in a lot of rules that really reduces the size. And so as we're starting to add more, it'll become more important. I'm actually thinking about SMS a lot more as a cadence step. It used to be before the phone calls. I'm now looking at it as after the phone calls. So what if somebody doesn't answer, then, hey, I just called you. Here's an SMS that goes out. Hey, I just called you. If you're interested in working for my client XYZ who pays this on this route, this much home time, just type yes. If not, or you don't want to hear from me, type no, opt out, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Now, when they get them on the phone and they ask them, are you interested in this job? They say yes. How do they translate that into an actual application?
First thing we do, of course, we verify everything. Is this who you are? Is this where you are? So we're improving the quality by being on the phone. And we validate everything. We ask them if there's anything in their background or history that would prevent them from getting hired, blah, 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 blah. Once they say yes, it's push button for my team. We built technology. We built, I would call it a candidate engagement platform. We call it Deja. Internal use, we don't sell it. But it manages all these cadences. And because we have integrations with all the ATSs that they use. And again, fortunately, in my space, there's like 2 ATSs for truck driving companies or carriers.
Yeah, what are those called, by the way? I've heard of one of them.
10th Street.
10th Street, yeah. That's it.
And they probably have like 60, 70% market share. So once we've gathered all the data, confirmed it all, added any notes that we want the recruiter to see, my call center agent just clicks yes, sends it along, and the information's automatically sent. We also recently implemented a QA phase. So we try to call back essentially every single driver that we speak to, make sure that it was the right information, because constantly trying to balance quantity and quality.
Excellent. All right. So covered a lot of stuff there. Anything else you want to mention about sales tech stacks? What do you use? Anything else you guys use there?
Absolutely. So another advantage we had to growth, I think, last year was, like a lot of you, I think, we were 100% virtual company before COVID. And that was fantastic. So our team is in every time zone in the US, and me in Costa Rica. And so, we have a tech stack that I think applies whether you're in office or remote. But I'll say first and foremost, we couldn't run a sales team without Slack. Slack is the most quintessential platform. Email's dead inside my company. We don't email each other. Google Hangouts and Slack. That's my first two must-haves for any team, specifically a sales team who has to share experiences. One of the things you lose with remote workers versus the call centers and teams I helped build at companies like JobTarget and Zip were that speed of learning when you're sitting next to another great salesperson, hearing them and iterating from cube to cube, that's lost in the virtual team. And so, Slack has really enabled that. We have channels upon channels that we use, and they all get used to help each other out. And then, of course, Google Hangouts and lots of meetings, which stinks, but, we save them on the commute time, I guess.
Yeah.
So next up in my sales stack is, there's just no way around it. Salesforce is the CRM you should use. If you've got more than, I would say, one person in your organization selling. Why do I say that is the best? I don't think it's the best at all. I think it lacks a lot. Everybody we hire knows it. We know how to use it for reporting, and it integrates open API into everything that we want to do outside of the CRM itself. So Salesforce talks to Slack for me, alerts me of a new deal, triggers an onboarding call with customer success. And that is the beauty of Salesforce. But most importantly, every salesperson worth their weight has used it. That makes it self-fulfilling prophecy. And then we use Outreach.io, which manages your cadences. So we just saw all this information about collecting emails. I would add Zoom Info. It's a huge expense, but it is as big a database, and you can select for direct phone number plus email. I am an adamant believer, and the reason I believe in Outreach.io is email alone. And I know you have a question for me on this, but email alone doesn't work. Okay, I don't read email anymore, to be honest. You just experienced that. I really spend as little time in email as I have in my entire professional career. It's not my go-to. It's not the number one alert I'm looking at. I'm looking at my Slack messages, right? But a cadence that includes email, call, email, call, kill, right? And then account-based, where you're showing us how to grab individual recruiters or the info and career at. And then from Zoom or from LinkedIn, I've gathered some senior folks, right? Different messages, different days, different cadences, but top down, bottom up, and sideways within an organization is the best way to attack an account. And Outreach really helps you manage that, and also has Salesforce integration. So you basically take all your leads, load them into Salesforce, assign them to a salesperson, send them back out to Outreach, and then it starts triggering all the activities that you need to do. And at the end of the day, sales remains the science that it should have always been and has developed into, which is similar science to digital marketing, right? It's activity based. In-person sales, for the most part, not necessary anymore. It's just a different world than it was before COVID. And really running a systematic activity-based sales organization is the key. Now, at the end of the day, if I have a salesperson that doesn't have the activity but hits the numbers, we let them go, right? I mean, we let them keep doing what they're doing.
What is the activity you're looking for? Like, give me some baselines there for the general kind of generic, salesperson, right?
Everybody uses lower numbers than me. You want the numbers that I want?
Give me some basic numbers. Yeah, I mean,
you got to make a minimum of 50 new telephone calls every single day. I'm like 100. I let my sales manager handle the 50 number. In that, you're looking for one or two. This all depends. Everything depends on the price of your product, the conversion rates, everything backs into numbers. So I'm just giving you benchmark roundabout data here. Everything is going to come back to what you're selling. If you're selling a $29 job posting, none of these numbers work. You can't afford to do this. So that being said, you want 50 outbound touches, calls, and emails a day minimum. You're going to want 1 to 2 discovery calls per day average. Sometimes that is 5 all in one day, right? But each of your reps need to be doing that. That's what I've seen in conversion. We have also simplified sales process, even though we're using a CPA on the back end, like Indeed started doing years ago. Just kind of wrap it up with a bow on it and call it a subscription. And we just have different levels. And then we just base we deliver them on an ECPL, effective cost per lead. So based on the different lead types and stuff, we make sure that they get a good distribution, fair distribution of what they're looking for. And we're always reaching to strive their hiring goals and expectations. We have found that while maybe heads of recruiting departments can talk data and say the words CPH, right? ECPL, conversion rates. At the end of the day, if you simply don't deliver volume, and this is what tells me they don't really look at the data, or you simply don't deliver quality, right? You run the risk of losing the account. So I can't deliver 5 leads, generate 4 hires, and expect to receive the same amount of money as if I delivered 100 leads and delivered the same 4 hires. I don't know why we haven't fixed this problem in the recruiting department. They're not math folk, okay? They're not digital marketers, and they're wonderful people. But they are starting to talk the language. And I know 20 of you are going to tell me about an example where, the chief people officer at Uber really gets it. Yeah, there's a couple out there. But the everyday mid-market company that most of us are making our bread and butter on, they might be able to talk it. They come to a conference and talk it, but they don't get the data. So we really try to do KISS, keep it simple, stupid on the packaging, and give them a product that's going to deliver them what they expect to get and what they need from us. I'm looking at my watch here. I'm way too far on this. What else did you want to talk about?
I was gonna say, yeah, I tell all new job boards, you're in the apply business. And if you're not delivering enough applies, then you're not going to last too long.
Every time I decide that I'm in the hire business, I realize I'm in the apply business, right? Every time I say, let's make the best decision to just deliver hires. If I went to a client, I say, look, you made 2 hires with me. I delivered you 1,000 leads. And they say, that's great. I said, if I delivered you 5 leads and you made 2 hires, would you be happy with me? And they say, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You're in the apply business. We're in the lead.
Question for you. Do you use any automated tools to connect with drivers? Example, engaging with Twitter accounts who have trucker in their profile, for example.
The question is about engaging drivers into my audience or my platform.
Yeah. Do you have any tools for that?
No.
Okay.
No, everything we built to engage drivers was stage 1 was our communities, our forums and discussions. And that started 15 years ago. Sam bought the site. He didn't found the site. He bought a 10-year-old site that was just really good at discussions and forums and really active. As that's moved from sites to Reddit, to Facebook, to Insta, to TikTok now, we decided to go in this other channel and built an app that's, I guess you'd call it bait. It's a great app, and there's a lot we can do with it. There's a lot of big data we get out of it, so there's a huge value to us. But we're giving them something for free that they want that they can't get for free.
Yep.
Because all of the competitors charge for it. And then we're just offering recruiting, and we've got demand already built in. We've got the buyer for that audience. So I don't do a lot of unique, like, go find truckers on Twitter stuff. Also, it's inexpensive enough for me to buy them versus those tools, right?
Yeah. Excellent. Let's talk about ZipRecruiter for a minute. So you were there for how long? I forget. How many years?
Almost 3.
3. Okay.
Yep.
You were there in the beginning, early days.
I used to take so much credit, and now where they're at and what they've done, which is incredible. I can't even take much credit anymore. I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
Yeah. What do they do right? I mean, I have my thoughts on it, but tell me what, from your perspective, what they did right to become such a household name.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that question as I said earlier, and I think it's the same thing Indeed did right. They didn't come into this industry with a new technology to answer the problem. They came with an innovation in the business model. That's what both companies did differently. And that's why those two are the most successful companies since LinkedIn, I would say. And we always forget about Craigslist, who's probably really the most successful and most profitable at what we do. And we never talk about those guys. But the big and sexy is are those two. And I was just talking with some folks about this the other day. There's a ton of amazing technology under both companies. But at the end of the day, what they did was they innovated the business model and delivered the business model in a way that changed our industry forever. I'll give you an example. At ZipRecruiter, I don't know how many people know their history in job boards. When we used to talk about the big guys, we were talking about Monster and Career Builder, right, Chris? And I remember going to a meeting with them. I was trying to do a biz dev deal when I was at Job Target. I don't remember about what, but I was shocked to learn that of their revenue, 15%, and this is way back when, I don't know what they do now, 15% was e-commerce generated. 85% was what we just spent my first 22 minutes describing, right? Sales. They had 2,000 salespeople at one point. They couldn't do e-commerce. Career Builder didn't do e-commerce. Why? These guys came out of recruiting and newspapers, right? And I think what Zip did was innovated and built from the brains, right, of digital marketers who understood e-commerce and could attract with the free trial offer a small business or a medium-sized company to join. That wasn't new technology. That was the application of great thinking to an industry that had gotten stale and then had just come out of the worst economic crisis that affected some of us on the call more than most industries.
They also did a smart thing too, which was the radio and podcast ads, in my opinion. I mean, to me, that's really where I went to the next level, I think, and really, inserted them into.
Because you went beyond the search, right? Everything in digital depends on.
Were you there before they started doing those? And whose idea was that? Was it Ian's?
I'm positive it was Ian's idea. And at the time, Alan Jones was running marketing. He now has a great company in HR called Bambi. It's a $99 a month kind of
Bambi.
Yeah. So he and Ian, I think, really tested the first waters. But the brilliance of radio and other types of advertising like that, and we've all experienced this, is we know that there's only X number of employers that go to Google and say, where should I post my job? And that number is probably not that big. So it's just like I was talking about with candidate engagement. We are all doing businesses where we wait for them to come to us in some form or fashion, or we pay a lot of money to get them. And what I'm saying is go where they are and use the older technology, right? Get on radio and podcasts, because if you select your demographics right, you're going to hit employers. And it's the same thing with building a call center. It's not that much difference in innovation, right? It sounds old school blue collar, but you know what? Drivers are waiting to hear about great jobs, right? Employers are listening to podcasts and listening to radio on the way to work, trying to figure out how to make more money at their jobs. I know I'm right at the 4 and you've been keeping people on schedule today. Anything else I can answer for you before you go to your next session?
No, you're the last session, man. So we can.
I'm here, whatever you need.
What else is on your mind these days? You're
going to ask me what to do. I've been waiting for your last answer.
Okay. So, all right. So if you were starting a niche job board today by yourself, give me your first, 3 months of activity. What are you doing from a sales perspective?
Dig my own grave. I wouldn't do it today. I wouldn't start job board first today. I don't know if that's a popular answer, Chris. When you were doing it, I feel like, straight job board domain play, when you were doing it, it worked. I think it's so crowded now. You have to have something else. I wouldn't have gone to Truckers Report if they were a domain name with job listings. The fact that they had 1 million+ community members made them a unique opportunity. So my answer to your question is, don't start a job board. Start something else that makes money in jobs.
Or buy another site, like
Or
Sam
buy
did.
another site.
Buy
Yes.
versus build is always been a fascinating topic for me, and I always recommend if you can buy something that's already started, it has a user base, you're much more likely to.
And I think that
to succeed.
applies to things like Buy a Face Group or LinkedIn Group. Those are for sale. You know what I'm saying? Like there's lots of other things to buy where there is community or audience. But I think it's really hard. And I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying I would never do it again. I don't think it can't be done, but I think domain with job listings, because you really know a lot about the American widget makers of Buffalo, where I am today. And you know that there's this great community and supply and demand, and you know where they are. It is a hard, long run. And when you guys were doing it, it was different. You were innovating, you were building networks, you're building the concept of regional. I wouldn't start a niche. I don't know how many times I've told you this, including to investor types who were looking at getting into it. Domain plus job listings to me is not a business that is viable today. So to answer your question, what would I do for the first 3 months? I would figure out where there is a community that I could be entrenched in. And that community can be a user base, it can be an audience, it can be whatever you want it to be. But what it can't be is just a domain with jobs, which,
Yes.
I mean, I don't mean that that's all you did, but you were kind of the king at coming up with great domains and putting jobs and being successful at it.
Yep.
And I don't know if you disagree. Do you disagree with me? I don't think you could do that the way you did it.
I tell all my clients now, you can't just build a job board now. Just like you said, you have to build a community. You have to build other things that people are going to want to come to you for, right? And if that's career resources, that's content, that's events, whatever it is, right? You have to be more than just a job board today. You have to think more holistically and broaden that perspective a bit. You know, I've got clients who are doing that now, right? They're building a community around a certain niche or a topic. Hell, even you can still make money, off of arbitrage. I mean, I just had a call last week with a guy. He made 26 grand in Appcast in 2 months just by doing Facebook ads. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Right.
So there's still ways to make money out there, but if you want to build a business, a lasting business around jobs, you have to build a community
Audience
with more things. And I love how you guys took that free tool you had. What's it called? A road what?
Hammer. It's a turn-by-turn navigation.
Road Hammer.
Yeah.
Perfect example of using a free tool to generate user acquisition. I mean, that's just perfect. That's how a lot of you should do it too.
And guys, we've done this bootstrap. No outside money, no rich parents. We've done this bootstrapped. And it is possible to do. You've got to be willing to make bets. You got to be willing to pivot, but not too quickly. And you've got to be looking over the hump, right? You got to be looking out there a little bit further. I think in your questions that we didn't get to, is sales and cold calling still a thing? Everything I do is cold calling, right? Whether it's drivers or companies. And it 100% still works. It works better than ever. Because I don't know, this email thing, I've been thinking a lot about this email thing lately, and I've missed a few things recently. But email's so busy. I have my main consulting account. It upsets my stomach to open it because I think I'm up to 3,000 unread messages because it's not my main everyday email. And there's so much garbage in there. It's all lost. So I think it's a part of the picture without a question, particularly at your clients, right? For a recruiting department, and you've got to include it, but as a primary, not a chance. You got to be that phone, SMS, social, like you were saying, the LinkedIn comment plus the email. And what I always say is, and then the phone call, and don't forget the phone call.
Yep.
And those numbers are out there. Zoom's expensive. Zoom info is expensive. But one of the best features is you can filter by contacts that have the direct phone number only Oftentimes it's publicly accessible, callable mobile phone as well. Can't text it. Don't text it.
Right.
But you can call it for sure.
A couple more questions. How important is SEO to Truckers Report right now? That's from Joel.
Less and less. Used to be the crux of the business with the discussions and forums. And I would say when I say our discussions and forums aren't what they once were, I mean, they're not doubling every year in volume and user base, right? So it's becoming less of our future. It's kind of leveling out. We still get about 1.1 million visitors to the discussions and forums. But we stopped investing in it as we saw the conversation move. I'd say in our space, predominantly to Facebook groups. So SEO used to be critical. You searched a carrier's name with any additional word, and you had Truckers Report on our website. But less and less is that working for us, and that's why we spent 2 years. Like, we tried a lot to get to the things that I'm telling you about that are great. And don't kid yourself, there was a bunch of failures along the way, right? But we feel like we finally found the right formula to really get us to that next level.
Awesome, man.
To be the biggest little company in trucking that ever existed.
How big are you off over your competitors at this point?
So
What is your number one competitor, by the way?
I'm going to go with the cliche. There are none. I would say the 800-pound gorilla, although they really don't direct compete with us for a number of reasons, would be Randall Riley. And then I think we're bigger than the CDL Life, the Fat J.
There's like 15 trucking job boards out there.
Yeah. And there's some great ones. They do great. What our clients tell us, what I hear from the agencies in particular, and that's why I don't say we don't really compete with Randall Riley, because we're heavy with recruitment ad agencies, and Randall Riley kind of is one. Is we hear regularly that of the job board types, which we don't consider ourselves really, of that category of the niche community types, we deliver more quantity, quality, and hires overall than all of them. And I've got some of the biggest carriers in the country that we're only second to like Google in spend. So we're doing good.
All right.
Having fun.
We'll end on that note, Ethan. Hey, man, appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. If you get questions from anybody, if there's a particular area, Chris, don't hesitate to forward it over to me. I'll answer it. I don't have time to consult anymore, but I will write a 2-paragraph email. Use my Truckers Report email, Chris, though. I'm not reading Vital Few at all.
Gotcha.
All right.
Awesome. Well, Ethan Bloomfield from Truckers Report. Thank you, bro.
Thanks for giving you a little anxiety. I apologize for giving you a little anxiety. I've logged in like 3 times during the day.
I could not reach Ethan for like days just until yesterday. So glad he finally showed up. Right.
Joey, I miss you, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Everybody else, we'll see y'all later. Be well.
All right, brother. Take care. Stay in touch.
You too.
Okay. All right. Thus concludes first ever Job Board Con. Appreciate you guys coming. Don't forget the Zoom happy hour, 5 o'clock. It's in 50 minutes, 50. Hope you can make it. We'll just chit chat, bring a drink, and we'll talk for an hour or so. But if any further questions, bring them to the show. I'll answer anything you want. And I look forward to seeing you on the Zoom there if you're so inclined. And hey, Matt, Joel, hope you're coming. Steve Fleming, hey. Diavia, hey, Diavia. Peter Zolman. Thanks again to all my guests today, Peter, Mac, Keith, Ethan. And we'll see you next time. See you on Zoom. Later.